Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to the Sean O'Connell Show. ESPN 792 on FM. Happy to be with you. It is another very hot day in the Salt Lake Valley. The slight haze / overcast nature of yesterday had me thinking it was going to cool down some, and then I walked outside this morning, and it just added a little bit of humidity to the air. Just made it a little bit hotter. No big deal. But we are lucky to have these great summer months. Hopefully you're enjoying them. Hopefully you're out and about with the family. Hopefully you're taking some summer vacations. It's great to be here at our Broadway studios with you to talk to and with all these great sports to talk about. The Open Championship, the British Open has begun. We'll be talking about it today. John Wright's going to swing by, one of our golf insiders. Looking forward to that.
It was a great job by you just covering all the bases there. The Open, British Open, Open Championship.
You got to call it all of them, right?
So that you get the one right.
You got to make sure that you're getting at least whichever it is. The Royal Birkdale. I don't know much about the course, but that's why we're bringing John Wright on.
Absolutely. He was just, and he told us last time he was on OC, if you remember, he was playing in a senior am across the pond. So he's got not course knowledge on Royal Birkdale, but he's got a little knowledge on the links golf over there because he was just over there playing some golf. Just going back to all the names real quick. I don't know if you heard Mike Tirico on with Dan Patrick today.
I did not.
NBC has the coverage. NBC, USA, Peacock, all the NBC networks and affiliates. And so Tirico's on the call this weekend, and Dan was like, I'm old enough to remember when we called it the British Open. Like when did it change? And Tirico was like, yeah, at first when you and I first started covering it, it was the British Open here in America. Then it changed to the Open Championship about 20, 25 years ago, he said. And now it's just the Open. So
we're
whatever.
We're streamlining everything. You know what I mean? Remember that? Remember a couple years back when they decided that .com was too much for people to have to type out, so they were trying to make .co on everything?
And the www was the beginning, and now it's just like, don't even worry about that.
We used to have to say www. Now they're just like, don't even. It's just because everyone knows World Wide Web goes at the beginning.
Yes,
and honestly,
it just fills it in for you when you put in, ESPN 700sports.com.
877-353-0700. Do you still type in the www when you're going to a website? Because I do.
You do.
I do.
I never do.
So, yeah, I do every single time. And I just blind tested myself because, I'm on my home row keys here.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just in full autopilot. And I want to go to a website. I'm hitting www. And then the autofill happens after that. I have not broken that.
You are wasting so much time.
I'm wasting so much time, and my ring finger on my left hand is wearing out much faster than it needs to.
Cramping a lot more often with that.
You know what? There's going to be somebody listening right now who's going to visit me in a nursing home when I'm like 79 years old, and they're going to notice that I have this nasty, gnarled ring finger. And somebody's going to come in, and they're just going to be like, ha, idiot, that's because you kept typing www.
No, they're going to remember you were a fighter and be like, was that a fight thing? And you're like, no, and you'll have to tell them, no, it's just typing www.
I would never tell the truth on that. I would 1,000%. It
was absolutely a fight thing.
Yeah, I fought a grizzly bear, and that's how this finger got all gnarled. No, I still do it, but we've done it with the Open Championship. That is now supposed to be the Open. In any case, we're going to talk with John Wright about it. We're going to have Gordy Chiesa in studio for an hour today. We've got Craig Bowlerjack joining us toward the end of the show. JP Chunga to talk a little World Cup. And I know that people are getting worn out on what is not America's pastime. However, I have to make this confession, guys. You know how much a prisoner of the moment I am, and so I've done some real soul-searching, making sure that what I'm about to say is not 100% based on the World Cup hype and fervor that I find myself caught up in, riding that wave. I am, to an extent, but here's how I tested it out this past weekend. Friday night, with my children, with my wife, with my little brother Patrick, who was hanging out with us for a while when my parents were on a vacation. Shout out to Patrick. He's now back in Oklahoma.
Yeah, kind of miss him today.
Yeah.
He's been a regular in studio.
He's been lurking in the corner of the studio, just laughing at my ridiculous jokes, making me feel good about myself.
And some of his laughs, just if you're listening very closely, you heard it just barely get picked up on the mic. So if you're wondering who's laughing at OC, it was his brother Patrick.
It was my brother Patrick.
Shout out to Patrick.
Patrick's the man. But we flew him back home. I didn't fly him back home. He flew back home yesterday to Oklahoma. But on Friday night, we all went out to America First Field, and we watched the Utah Royals. Losing effort against Gotham FC, but we watched the Utah Royals. We watched the drone show.
I love that they're not New York, that they're Gotham. Anyway, that's actually, just an aside.
It's actually really great, and their uniforms are great. They've got that Statue of Liberty green.
Yeah,
like it's a good brand. Okay, I don't like that they beat the Utah Royals, but we went out and we watched that, and then this weekend we're watching more soccer, and then we're watching World Cup semifinals on Tuesday and on Wednesday while the show's happening and after the show is happening. We're watching these. And, of course, I'm like, oh, man, did you see that cross by Messi and the header to put it in the back of the goal and the comeback against England and the nitty-gritty and the violence and the fervor of that game, and they're just getting after one another, and it's an intense rivalry, even though the vast majority of players on both sides were so young they didn't participate the last time. Well, none of them participated the last time they played. A lot of them weren't even alive the last time they played 24 years ago. But there's like a cultural understanding of that rivalry that, again, is new to me. And it was fun to watch it play out, and it was fun to see the referee try to handle it. And they kind of settled into things in the second half. And Argentina, in the space of, 9 minutes, eliminated England after England was up for most of the second half. And
there was a lot of criticism from the soccer folks nationally talking about how England took their foot off the gas too early. They got their goal and they're like, okay, we're fine.
Yes,
they weren't fine.
Their manager is being derided, and people are calling for his head, and they want a change in English football because they thought it was a coming home. They've been chanting that for weeks now. It's coming home, and it's not coming home. We've got fights in Austin, Texas tomorrow, and a guy fighting in the co-main event is this English kid from Manchester, right? Like a proper, like, gritty English industrial neighborhood kid.
Brawler.
Like, his name is Lewis McGrillen. He's a little ginger. His family is Irish immigrants to England. He's just like, he's a Peaky Blinders, okay? And we have the PFL has their, like, social media team doing face-offs and stuff like that. And his opponent is a guy who's Brazilian-Argentine. And they, instead of talking trash about the fight when they went face-to-face, they were talking trash to one another about the World Cup matchup, and our guy was pounding his chest and saying, it's coming home, it's coming home, it's coming home. And obviously the social media team for the PFL released that before the result yesterday. And England is out. Argentina moves on. Loved it. Watched it. Intense game. Incredible brilliance. Leo Messi affects the game a lot, even when he doesn't score in a game. He's the one who sets up these goals. And, you're starting to develop as a guy who has just been I won't say I've ever been really anti-soccer. Shout out to my soccer friends who I always made fun of. I've never authentically been anti-soccer.
Shout out to Clay.
Shout out to my guy, Clay Christensen. All right. And, like,
I always made fun of him. Best athlete in the school.
Let's be honest. I've always liked soccer girls. My wife, what? But I've never been anti-soccer, but I've never been on board. I've never been on the bandwagon. I've always been kind of like, okay, I'll try. When the first time I worked at ESPN 700 decade ago, right, we were the broadcast home of RSL. So we talked a lot more RSL, and I was like, I will slog through this pretend like I know what I'm talking about, pretend like I care about James and Olave and Nick Raimondo and all these guys. But it never really caught on. As much as when I would go experience it, when I go watch the games live, I would like it. I never was like, I'm going to watch this on TV. And James, I have a confession to make now. I have become, I'm not going to pretend to die hard, but I've become a soccer fan, a real one. And I tested it out by last night. We went out to RSL Burnley FC. And there's a lot going on. Stadium, food, best friend and his wife are there. My wife is there. A lot of conversation to be had. I'm glued to the pitch, man. 4-1 victory for RSL. I'm pumped up on everything that's going on right now. Moon Man scores a PK to make it 4-1. Like, you saw some really, really good things from RSL, and I was like, you know what? It's happened. I've finally, at age 42, almost 43, I've finally become a soccer fan, a real one.
You're hooked. So you get an MLS season pass on Apple now, so you can watch the rest of the season?
Thankfully, I already have it.
Oh, you got it. Okay.
Because as a sports dude, right, I made the decision a long time ago that I am going to just pay for whatever sports packages are necessary. So I have
everything.
All the sports, all of them.
Even if you're not watching one of them very much, you're just so you can.
Because when you call like your cable providers and you're just like, I need all the sports, and they're just like, okay, there's like this premium package, it's 5 million channels. You're like, just give me whatever is all the sports. I have access to every college football game, every NFL football game, every whatever, and nobody really has all of it. But they're like, okay, and married to a soccer person, so
yeah,
the Apple TV. Max out the subscription there, all that stuff. At the end of the day, is it going to ever jump to the number one place for me? No, it's probably always going to be like 5, because it's going to be football, basketball. Well, for me, football, hockey, basketball. Actually, football, MMA, hockey, basketball.
Yeah. You got to get your fighting in there.
And then, soccer's going to be there.
Golf, baseball, too. Huh?
Golf, you're up next, okay? Golf, you've never been able to win me over. Maybe now is the year. Maybe I'm open to new experiences here in 2026.
Open. Look at you.
Maybe I'm open to the open this year. But I confess, I lay myself before thee, listeners, fellow sports fans, and say that it finally happened. I've finally become an actual soccer fan, and it's not just the World Cup, because Burnley FC and RSL had nothing to do with the World Cup last night, and I was very, very into it. I was very excited about what I saw from RSL, and they're third in the West right now, and I'm like, this might be a year. We're talking about at least a deep playoff run for RSL, so I'm jumping on board the Claret and Cobalt bandwagon, all right? And the sport overall of soccer, I now want to see how Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane and all these guys react on their pro club assignments to the devastation of being eliminated. I cannot wait to see how Spain and Argentina try to handle one another in a World Cup final. And the wave has carried me into a spot where I think I'm going to stay. I think I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to like soccer.
And you're glued to the third place game, England-France, on Saturday too. Like,
probably not as much that.
But see, here's
there's going to be a limit.
Yeah.
To fandom, right? I'm a diehard college football fan. You won't catch me watching all 4 quarters of Maction. Right?
Yeah, that's just Porter Larson.
We have lives, all right?
Porter's the only one who's dialed into all of Maction.
I'm glad we got that confession out of the way.
Let me ask you this real quick before we move on. Does this mean are you gonna try to adopt a Premier League team or a La Liga team, Serie A, whatever I don't know. I think Bundesliga.
Maybe down the road. It's too much to ask right now.
You're not ready right now.
It's too much to ask right now.
It's also a commitment, because those are in Europe, and those are like you have the prime time slot in Europe is getting up way early in the morning.
Yeah,
I know soccer fans who love their soccer Sunday at 7 a.m. I'm like, I can't do that.
Also, I'll also say this. I used to be this way, but I grew annoyed with it and annoyed with people that were like this. Something that actually irritates me is a bit of a pet peeve that I can't really explain is when you find someone who like adopts like a new hobby or adopts a new interest.
I already know where you're going.
And it becomes like a core personality trait for that person.
And it's clearly just they're riding a high, and
like
it's going to come down soon.
And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Stop this. And the place you see it most often is with like fitness. People will, for the first time in their life, start working out, and then they change their Instagram handle to like James Peterson Fit. And then they're posting like workout videos and all that
mine's
stuff.
Mine's actually James Peterson Swole. But,
yeah, perfect.
But to each their own.
Like, so I'm not going to do that thing where I like pretend that soccer is now a core personality trait, because you can't sustain that, right? You can't do it. All the people that were like in 8th grade, and I was this way, that got caught up in the snowboarding fad. Like snowboarding was still like, oh, this is amazing. And a bunch of us were just like, I'm a snowboarder. Yes.
Every weekend.
I'm a snowboarder. Season pass, get all the stuff, and then you find out your parents are like, I'm not driving you up to Brighton 4 times a week. You got to figure it out. And you're just like, I don't want to ride a bus. It takes 2 hours to get there.
As Spence would say, shredding the gnar.
Yes. And so like that phase of like, yes, I'm a snowboarder, for me lasted about 1 winter. You know what I mean?
Getting
so I don't want to be that way. I'm not going to be that way with soccer, but I am on board. I'm now at least a fringe soccer fan instead of being a non-soccer fan. And I'm excited for all of you to either welcome me or more likely be like, get out of here, boo. And that's fine.
You don't know anything. Stop talking about it.
I want to make sure, well, before the first segment ends and Gordy's in here, there's a question that's been burning in the back of my mind. I've had it in the notes, buried in the bottom of our notes for a long time. And watching like this England squad get eliminated, right? And Jude Bellingham is a guy who's going to be a megastar in English soccer for a long time. And Harry Kane has been a megastar in English soccer already for a long time. And you've got like coaches and players and all these on both sides. And Spain is a very young team, a very talented team right now. Lamine Yamal is going to be a global phenomenon. He already is a global phenomenon, but that's going to bleed over even here into the United States sooner than later. And one thing that we're going to do is we're going to judge these people like we do our quarterbacks, like we do our basketball players, on championships. Lamine Yamal, even if he doesn't score in this World Cup, which he hasn't yet, people are going to be like, oh, he won a World Cup at age 19. It's like, well, did he? Because he didn't score anything. But what you win, how you win, the level of your achievement, we've always attached that to people's legacies. And as we march toward a Utah football season where the hope is you're competing again for a Big 12 championship, I'm looking at some of the guys on this roster. Devin Dampier is kind of first and foremost in my mind because Devin is a very exciting player who was not fully healthy last year, and I knock on wood hope he can stay healthy this year. So we see like the full realization of his potential in a Utah football uniform. And how we look at him and our fondness toward him is going to be very much related toward how much he can sustain last year's success to this year and whether or not he can get over a championship hump this year. Or maybe next year if he decides to come back for another year of eligibility. You know who the great Utes are. You know who, when I say the greatest Utah football players of all time, almost without fail, people are going to start with names that have what, James? That have won championships, that have been part of championship teams.
Yeah, the conference championship teams, and even
and
they might even, because Utah's had a couple of undefeated teams, you're going to start with the undefeated conference champions probably.
Exactly, but it's always going to be guys from those teams, and it makes perfect sense because team success begets individual success and vice versa, and popularity comes from these positive memories attached to those Sugar Bowl years, Fiesta Bowl years, Pac-12 championship years to go to the non-undefeated ones, right? The Mountain West Conference championship year, even before the Fiesta Bowl year, great players on that team. You know what I mean? My question for you, Utah football fans, 877-353-0700. Who is the greatest Utah football player of your fan generation, of your fandom, that did not win a championship? 877-353-0700. You could tweet at me at RealOC Sports. Who is the greatest Utah football player who never got that conference championship ring, who never got the accolades of, I'm going to be a future college football Hall of Famer, or I'm going to be a guy. I mean, a lot of them did move on to the NFL. I'm thinking like a Star low to the leg type player.
I mean,
Star never got to be part of a championship team.
Yeah, and the back-to-back Pac-12 championship game years with, Zach Moss is certainly a candidate. So anyone on that defense, so many guys on those defenses,
like Bradley and I.
Bradley and I
is one of the best players at a position that we equate to Utah football. Right, he's one of the best players in team history, but he didn't get to be part of a conference championship team, right? So who is the best? 877-353-0700. You can call us if you want. I don't know why, but this has just been like a little mind worm for me for the last couple of weeks, and I didn't, we had so much stuff to put on here. Zach Moss has come in on the text line as the first answer. 877-353-0700.
That's Zach, it. No more submissions. Thank you very much.
Which is interesting. We love us some Zach Moss, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of Zach Moss around Salt Lake City. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. If I'm not mistaken, I think his presence here is going to become more public pretty soon. But there's a lot of people who don't even think Zach Moss is the best running back that you can pull out of the Utah bag.
Those people are delusional, in my opinion. Like, who's better than the guy who is the all-time rushing yards leader and the all-time rushing touchdowns leader? That is literally the point of running backs.
You're right.
And all due respect to, there's been a great tradition of running back.
Remember this time last year when we were doing start, bench, cut?
Yeah, there was a shocking number of people that were cutting Zach Moss.
Or even benching Zach Moss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wish start, bench, cut was something you could do every single year. You can do it with, players on the team now. We'll do it with players on the team now, maybe.
Can't do the historical one.
But the historical one, you can't just rerun that thing, I don't think. Maybe you can.
Let's try it.
It just asks the same question over and over. Tyler Huntley is coming in. Derek on the text line says Tyler Huntley was the engine of that team. When he got hurt, it derailed the championship run.
Sure. Tyler is definitely someone you should throw out there as at least an honorable mention, if not the guy. Julian Blackmon, an incredible part of that team. Jalen Johnson, so many of those guys. Britton Covey on that 2018. He ended up winning it.
Britton ended up winning.
You're right.
So Britton doesn't
He was on teams that almost won and teams that won. And a team that won.
And unfortunately, when you're talking about Utah, you're talking about a conference championship. We're not talking about yet a national championship level that anyone's achieved. But, again, you've heard me. I've gotten on my soapbox about this. This is the hierarchy of needs for college football, right? Win every game every week if you can. Win a conference championship. When you achieve that, we can talk about something else.
How about Matty Gay?
What about Matt Gay?
What about
Tom Hackett and Mitch Wisnowski and these guys that were a huge part of teams? They were the best in the country at their position at any school, at any level. You don't usually give that level of credit to specialists.
Absolutely not.
Maybe a return specialist you'd be willing to do it with.
And Matt Gay in particular, you heard on the broadcast, I believe at the time it was Scott Mitchell who had just joined the broadcast with Bill Riley. You heard them saying, yeah, you know what? If you could get to the 45-yard line, you're in Matt Gay range. They never actually tried a ridiculously long field goal like that. But and I'm talking about your own 45-yard line at the end of a half kind of situation. People talk that was some of the conversation around the length on Matt Gay's leg was just insane.
The Utah football conference championships, by the way, have occurred. We're talking mostly about the modern era, of course, because most of our listeners are at least somewhat related to the modern era. Between 1964 and 1995, you had this big title desert, this dearth of conference championships. 1995, 1999, 2003, 2004, 2008, 2021, and 2022. Guys who were not on any of those teams, the best Ute ever to not win one of those conference championships. 877-353-0700. Keep the text coming in. We're going to touch back on this throughout the show because, it's nonlinear. A lot of you are not going to be here all 3 hours, so I want to touch back in on it. We'll ask this question with our NBA expert, Gordy Chiesa, who's joining us in studio, because this is what we do. We do this in pro sports all the time. Who are the best players to never win the big we've got two of them here in Salt Lake City and two of the best players in NBA history that never won a championship, and Karl Malone and John Stockton. And
statues outside of the arena there.
It's a dubious distinction. It's actually a terrible honor to hold. You are one of the best players ever to not win it all, Dan Marino. You are one of the best players ever to not hoist a championship, Karl Malone. Charles Barkley, holy cow. First ballot Hall of Fame. You were such an impact player on the floor. Sorry about that. You never won. My guy, Joe Mauer with the Twins. If he played for the Yankees, he is talked about as one of the all-time best baseball players ever in the history of the game, but he played for the Twins. And so he never got that kind of love. 877-353-0700. The best Utes to never win a championship. Here's some coming in before we. Hunter Dimmick is a strong candidate, says 8441.
Absolutely. Shout out to
Snacks. We love you, Snacks. Come back on the show. David on the text line says Errol Tucker, the Smurf, 1985. He was awesome. Scott Mitchell, Lauren Rich are his favorites. Taylor says Eric Weddle. Nope, Eric Weddle won a championship. He won 2 championships.
Yeah, Weddle, unfortunately, fortunately for him, unfortunately for this discussion, does not qualify.
Steve Smith or Chris Fuamatu Ma'afala from 64-34.
Did he spelled it all out? He got the last name?
He misspelled it, but he got it.
Hey, A for effort, my guy.
Look,
Shout out to
easy.
you.
Especially if you're like working right now, or heaven forbid you're driving and texting, don't do that.
Or he's
your
talk
voice,
to text.
If you're talk to text and you say Chris Fuamatu Ma'afala, Siri or whoever's not getting that.
They're not getting
right.
that. So A for effort, and if you did the talk to text and you're pronouncing it right, shout out to you. Yeah, and real quick, speaking of former Utah greats, the Utah Athletics 2026 Hall of Fame class was just announced. OC, you ready for the short list here?
I'm actually excited. I've pulled up the official.
You can read it if you want. Yeah,
this is not junk mail. It's not from Keeler McJunkin. Okay,
it's from our Kirk inbox. Shout out to Paul Kirk.
We got to find a clever name for Kirk mail.
Kirk mail
doesn't really roll off the tongue the same way. This is the announcement. No, James, I want you read it so I can sound like haughty and reactionary. Okay.
Zane Beatles.
Okay, well deserved. Shout out Zane Beatles.
Probably the most high-profile guy on this list because he was a football great. And that you might have to help me with the pronunciation. The next one, Daria, is it Bajak? Biak?
I think it's Bijak.
Bijak.
That's at least how her name was.
Gymnast.
Was butchered by everyone.
Yeah. Katrin Smiggins, women's skiing. Again, apologies if I butchered the pronunciation there. DeLon Wright, another very high-profile one from men's basketball, running Ute. Jerry Pym, excuse me.
Yeah.
That was just misreading there. Former running Utes coach and the entire 1991 softball team. So shout out to the 2026 Utah Athletics Hall of Fame class.
Zane Beatles already in the Utah Athletics Hall of Fame as a member of the Sugar Bowl team.
Now he's in there as an individual.
Going in there as an individual. The double honor. Very, very, very distinct, high-level honor to have double honors. Really cool for him.
Technically, you're in there as the Fiesta Bowl team, right?
Congratulations. Congratulations to all of my fellow Utah Athletics Hall of Famers. How gross is it that I can technically say that? DeLon Wright, it's nice that you finally get to join the likes of me. Daria Bijak, who ended up representing her home country of Germany in the Olympics.
Let's go.
Congratulations to you for finally taking your rightful place alongside myself in the Utah Athletics Hall of Fame.
Alongside a sorry walk-on on the Fiesta Bowl team, right?
Yeah, it's so – you know what I'm going to start doing? I want to start doing, James? I need to do like a walk-ons reunion.
Yeah.
So it's all of the guys who like the – here's what the criteria are. If you're a walk-on who earned a scholarship, you can't come.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's at least one of those guys from the Fiesta Bowl team that I'm like, you probably don't want to invite him. He became too high profile.
If you're a walk-on who like got to play a lot and lettered, you can't come.
You're not really a walk-on.
You're not one of the losers like the rest of us, okay? If you're a walk-on who was on the team and you've now made an entire living off of telling people you were on that team like I have, then you can come to the reunion.
It's like the Club Trillion version of. Do you remember Mark Titus's Club Trillion blog?
I don't.
The Club Trillion was 1 minute played and 0 other stats in basketball.
Now
if you
look at the official Utah stat book, I do have a stat in a Utah football uniform, and it's because the other guy on the team that was wearing my same number got a tackle. Or no, I think a reception. Either way,
in your uniform,
it wasn't me. It's just whoever
your
was
shared
taking,
uniform.
Whoever was taking stats was just like, who's number 49? Okay, it's so and so, and so, but it was me.
It was definitely you.
So, yeah. Congratulations to Zane Beatles, Daria Bijak, Katrin Schmagoon, and DeLon Wright, who are joining Jerry Pym on the coaching side of things, plus the 1991 softball team. Well done. Stansbury Park Golf Course, if you're watching the Open, you're watching the British Open right now, you're just like, I could do this. I could go out there and I could shoot 15 under par. Well, why don't you try it out at the Stansbury Park Golf Course out in Tooele County? Incredible rates on your rounds, $45 on weekdays, $50 on the weekends to play 18. It's just right out there off of I-80, a perfect little gateway into Tooele County. You haven't been out there in a while, most likely. Get out there. Don't drive to the place here in town where you're going to get stuck waiting behind 3 foursomes that are there for the drinking and the carousing. If you want to play a nice, quick round of golf, get out there to Stansbury Park Golf Course. Tell them OC sent you. Great rates, gorgeous greens, only minutes away. It's totally worth it. $45 on the weekdays, $50 on the weekends. Challenging course, tough course. Great trash-talking course for you and your friends, but you're not going to be waiting behind a bunch of other people. Gordy Chiesa joins us next. Keep your texts coming in at 877-353-0700. The greatest Utah football player to never win a conference championship. It's ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. We got Gordy Chiesa here in studio. James, before we bring in Gordy, this is one of the greatest texts that we've ever gotten at 877-353-0700. We were asking the greatest Utes that never got to be part of a championship team, the greatest Utah football players who don't have a championship ring. And a couple of people have brought in the name Hunter Dimick, all-time sack leader when he finished up, right? Second-team All-American, Pac-12, all Pac-12 also as a senior. He was an excellent, excellent player. And he's like a homegrown guy who's just very much emblematic of what Utah football wants to be, right? Work ethic, hustle type guy. So Sam on the text line said, that's my favorite Ute who never won a championship. And then he says, you know what? Great idea. Retire number 49. Hunter Dimick obviously wore number 49, but let's do it as like a code number retirement. So the headliner for the jersey number 49 being retired is Hunter Dimick, who left as the all-time sack leader. And the co-retirement would be my 1 year on the roster as number 49.
The Hall of Famer who was on the roster.
Who, by the way, if you remember, actually, when we went to the Fiesta Bowl, they didn't have the actual jersey number that I was listed on the roster during the regular season. So for the Fiesta Bowl, I got the jersey number 57, and they put me on the roster for the Fiesta Bowl as number 57. And the jersey that I have in like a box in my office at home is number 57, which I never actually wore, except for that one game. Anyway, fantastic suggestion from the text line. Gordy Chiesa here in studio with us. We'll talk all things hoop. Gordy, how are you, sir?
Sean, I'm doing well, thank you. And I'm excited about talking about your jersey number.
Yes.
I'm excited.
What number? What was your jersey number back in the day,
Well,
Gordy?
I'm from the era where you had two jerseys, one home and one away.
Okay.
And a lot of knucklehead teammates would forget they wear the wrong jersey to the game. That's in case. So I wore number 12 at home,
All right.
and 13 on the road. So white jersey and dark jersey. Now it's all one jersey, which is good. And, jersey numbers is really, it's important. It's your identity, and the fans love wearing players' jerseys.
Okay,
I get a great kick at Jazz games when I see like yesteryear players like say Mark Eaton.
Oh yeah.
Or Bobby Hansen or
Wonderful.
Karolinko.
Dantley.
Yeah, Dantley. Like all the guys from yesteryear that we all know, and I coach many of them, is that people are wearing them, which is really kind of neat.
Gordy Chiesa wore number 12. So, again, you could go with the same thing here. Jersey number 12, very important for the Utah Jazz. Co-retire it. John Stockton and Gordy Chiesa.
Oh, that'd be down. God bless John. That'd be insulting to John, to say the least.
Okay.
But again, it's really a lot of fun. And I always tell the players, you make your jersey famous by how you play. And it doesn't matter what number you are, especially a lot of times when a guy gets traded, he has a certain number that he always wore, but the guy on the new team has already wore that number. And that's what makes it so interesting. When that does happen, we always counsel the guys, make your new jersey number famous for you.
We had this very recently in the NBA. Tim Hardaway Jr. ends up on the Miami Heat, and the initial report was Tim Hardaway Sr.'s number is retired by the Heat organization.
Correct.
And the initial report was that Junior wants to wear number 10, and Dad's like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm going to let them bring that out of retirement for you. And obviously it got resolved that he's going to wear number 10, but I found that hilarious that Dad was just like, I don't know, do you really deserve to wear my retired number to his own son?
Oh, very much, yeah. And say that today in current tense right here in Salt Lake City. Cal Filipowski gave his number 22 jersey to
DP.
Darren Peterson,
yeah,
which is really kind of neat. And again, if I'm Cal Filipowski, whatever number you are right now, is that you make that number famous for you.
We hear these stories sometimes. Jersey numbers are important to players. NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL.
Yeah, for marketing.
A lot of times you gotta buy the number from the guy, or you gotta say I will donate to your favorite charity, whatever. For number 22, I'll do $22,000 or whatever. You hear some stories. Who was it last year? Somebody wanted like $1 million for the jersey number, And the guy that wanted it was like, get out of here. I'm not paying you $1 million to wear number 9 or whatever it was.
Was it
It was a football guy.
football player?
Yeah, I think it was. It'll come to me, but yeah. So yeah, the numbers are important. They're hilarious. And when you're a walk-on, a lowly walk-on back in the day, you you took the number that they gave you. You were just like, yes, sir, may I have another? Thanks, coach. I remember heading into my second year at the University of Utah that spring. They're just like, what number do you want to wear? And I had this list, right, of numbers I wanted to wear. Unfortunately, the top 3 numbers I requested were guys who were going to be captains on the team the next year. And they're just like, you can't have any of those because we're not taking it away from Spencer Toon so you can wear it. You don't get to wear the same number as Grady Marshall. You have to wear something different. I'm like, dang it.
All right, so you adjust. Quick side note, but the greatest number of all time, no one's ever wore it since then, is in baseball, Jackie Robinson.
Oh, yeah.
So Jackie Robinson, for the younger listeners, was the first ever African-American player to play Major League Baseball way too long in 1947. And so in honor of Jackie Robinson, Major League Baseball has that uniform. No one's ever wore it, ever.
Number 42 is retired around the league.
Yes.
And they do the commemorative game where they'll let
Correct.
people wear 42
Right.
for that game. But it's to honor Jackie Robinson. Pretty cool.
Yes, it is, very much.
Well, you heard me ranting about that just strange topic that came to my mind, the greatest Utah football players who did not win a championship or weren't member of a conference championship team. And look, I'm sure all these guys are in a situation where, you know, they've moved on in life and they're doing good things. Some of them are playing in the NFL right now. Other guys are off doing their own thing, insurance salesmen, dads doing whatever they have to do to get through. It is a cruel reality that you can be an All-American, an All-Conference, and all-everything type player, and because of circumstances in the ultimate team game, like football, you never get to achieve the highest level of team success. You never get to be part of – there are guys that are 1,000 times better at football than most of the rosters that I was on that never get to have that ring that they can put on a little stand in their office or they get to wear to special events to say, yeah, I was a member of a conference championship team, when there's a bunch of scrubs from better teams that do have it. It's an injustice in all sports, and it gets even worse in pro sports where people's legacies are discussed, Gordy, and valued or devalued based on championship wins alone. It's like the tale as old as time and something that is very close to home here in Salt Lake City because our best, our very greatest Utah Jazz players have never had the distinction of also being NBA champions.
That is correct. And it's also, and those players, they are absolutely winners. Unfortunately, they didn't win a championship. Remember, organizations win titles, not individual players. It's a whole organization. Here's a quick list that we just talked about in a commercial break here of some of the players that didn't win a title. There are absolutely generational talents locally here. John Stockton, Karl Malone, Jeff Hornacek, other teams, Reggie Miller of the Pacers, Charles Barkley of the Suns and also of the Suns and also the Rockets, Chris Paul, Steve Nash, Patrick Ewing, Chris Mullin, Dominique Wilkins, playing in the NBA right now, James Harden and Donovan Mitchell. All these guys have never won a championship, yet all of them have a winning game. And that's what's so hard about it, that winning is so hard to be a champion and title. And these guys all have winning games and have special talents. Unfortunately, when it was time to play for the NBA Finals, the other guys were slightly better. In Jazz basketball, I was there front and center, is that the Jazz lost to the world's greatest player of all time who did the greatest things to beat us. And that's, I can say it with any hesitation, because I was right there. Remember, Sean, I was the guy yelling to Jeff Hornacek to go double team Michael Jordan the last play in 1998 when he made that killer jump shot against Brian Russell. Oh, by the way, did he push off? Yes, no, maybe. The ref's never going to call it.
Yeah. We've had some great ones here in Utah. Again, keep your text coming in 877-353-0700. The greatest Ute football player to never win a conference championship. We'll read off some of your answers. We're just starting out with Gordy Chiesa. I'm going to try to stay on clock here, so we'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got a lot to discuss. Adam Silver wants an investigation into Kawhi Leonard and salaries cap circumvention. He wants that investigation done before the season begins. We'll talk a little summer league. We've got Gordy here. We're gonna pick his brain, and we're gonna lean on him for all of his basketball expertise. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 792 on FM. Gordy Chiesa here in studio with us. A question that we're hanging out all day. The best player to play for a Utah football team that never got to be part of a conference championship team. We're talking the Star Lotulelais of the world, the Luther Ellises of the world. These guys that were among the best that we've ever seen, but never got to be part of a championship squad. 877-353-0700. Gordy Chiesa here in studio with us, talking all things hoop, and we We had a conversation on Tuesday, Gordy, about Summer League basketball. The Jazz shut down Darren Peterson. The Wizards shut down A.J. DeBonsa. A lot of people have seen everything they need to see. And you and I have spent years talking about how you're supposed to judge this Jazz team, not really based on, well, are these guys as good as Steph Curry? Are these guys as good as Nikola Jokic? It's always, where are they at relative to their peers? And that's what Summer League basketball is all about.
Oh, very much, yes. And with the Jazz, they did shut down most of the guys, but last night, ironically, they didn't shut down Darren Peterson. Jazz lost last night in Las Vegas to the Spurs, 94-82. Darren Peterson played 28 minutes, 15 points, 4 assists, 4 turnovers, 5 rebounds. His shooting, which has really been good in college, and that's what he does best, he struggled the whole summer time, including last night, 4 for 16 and 0 for 3. However, as they go forward, Darren Peterson, what he does best besides penetrating and getting in the lane, he's a natural shooter. So his shooting percentage will increase dramatically once he gets with the varsity, meaning all the main guys in Jazz basketball. He'll be fine. So the Jazz lost last night quickly from the Spurs' point of view, which we all respect the Spurs of what they're doing. Jacoby Gillespie scored 25 points, led the Spurs. He was the 42nd pick of the draft last year, University of Tennessee, and he's a very good player, and he'll be another guy that the Spurs have as far as a perimeter that will add to them right now. Other quick guys that have played well, just generally speaking, in Summer League, Caleb Wilson of the Chicago Bulls. Are you kidding me how talented this guy is? The other night was a classic game where he played against Cam Boozer, who's another tremendous talent, and Caleb Wilson hit it out of the park. 35 points in that game. He's a major talent, 4th pick of the draft. He's a foundational pick for the Bulls, and he is playing very well. Quickie, one other quick side note of the Celtics. Hugo Gonzalez is a second-year player from Spain that plays for the Celtics. He's played very well in Summer League. I'm looking forward to seeing him play and being a major contributor as the Celtics continue to be an elite team.
So Darren Peterson is going to be judged against A.J. DeBonsa for their entire careers. Cam Boozer is going to be judged against those two for their entire careers. Caleb Wilson is going to be stacked up against these guys for their entire careers. You made this bold claim on Tuesday that maybe all 4 of them end up being NBA All-Stars. Hasn't happened in 56 years since that 1970 draft. That's the tidbit that we love from somebody like Gordy Chiesa. But who else in the NBA are you judging this rookie class against? Because like we said, it's not, you got to, today you have to be as good as LeBron James. Who are the other measuring sticks that you look at in the league that are the guys you got to keep pace with if you're a 20, 21-year-old rookie?
These are the best under age 25 players in the NBA. So again, the best young guys under age 25. And before I say the list, is that Kate Cunningham is 25 and above, and so is Anthony Edwards, who we know are in their prime right now. Here we go. And this list is evolving where you could flip-flop the numbers, etc. Number 17, Jalen Green, age 24 from the Suns. Number 16, Ace Bailey, age 20 from the Jazz. Number 15, Chet Holmgren, age 24 from the Thunder. Number 14, Alexander Sarr, age 21 from the Wizards, who is vastly even underrated. Number 13, Unsar Thompson, age 23 from the Pistons. Number 12, we just mentioned a second ago, Sean and I, Caleb Wilson, age 20 of the Bulls. Number 11, Paolo Campbell from the Magic, age 24. Number 10, Darren Peterson, 19 years young from the Jazz. Number 9, A.J. DeBonsa, age 19 from the Wizards. Number 8, Dylan Harper, age 20 from the Spurs. Number 7, Alfaron Şengün, age 24 from the Rockets. Number 6, Con Knippel, age 21 of the Hornets. Number 5, Stephen Castle, age 21 of the Spurs. Number 4, Jalen Johnson, age 24 from the Hawks. Number 3, Amon Thompson, age 23 from the Rockets. Number 2, Cooper Flagg, age 19 from the Mavs, and number 1, we know it already, his name, Victor Wembanyama, age 22 of the Spurs. These are the top 17 guys that are age 25 or under, and there'll be other guys in that list, and this list will be evolving as far as who gets even better each passing year. So in Jazz basketball, there's 2 guys in that list, in Ace Bailey and in Darren Peterson. The question is philosophically, Sean, situationally, can the 2 Jazz young standouts, can they someday outplay these guys consistently in their age group? That's the question.
I'm going to be unfair to you and ask you another question about that list. If you had to put your life on whoever is going to be an MVP eventually on that list, I think number 1, Victor Wembanyama, we all think is probably going to win multiple MVP awards. But who else on that list would Gordy Chiesa put his life on winning an MVP at some point in his career?
Cooper Flegg.
Okay.
AJ DeBoncer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, someday.
All right.
Yeah, someday. Amir Thompson.
Wow.
Of the Rockets. Got just the way he plays. He has a winning game. He's a two-way player. He's averaging like 19 points a game, and his team doesn't pass the ball to him. And he can guard. So also add to that, when you say MVP, your team also has to win. So the question is also, is your team deep in the playoffs as far as every year? And that do you win 54 games, 55, 57 games in the top 1 to 2 seed? And I think all these guys with their franchises can. And it's going to be a great. The NBA's in great hands with these wonderful young players.
Gordy Chiesa hangs out with us for another 30 minutes or so. We've got lots left to get to. It's the Sean O'Connell Show, talking hoop on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Hour number 2 begins here. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Gordy Chiesa is here with us in studio. Gordy, we were just talking about during the break, the schedule these players have in the rest of this offseason. Summer League in the books, and, guys are supposed to stay in shape, show up for the regular season in shape, but you also got to take your rest. You got to let your body recover. How do a lot of these guys handle it for the next couple months?
Yeah, a couple months, meaning that it's already mid-July. So the players, most of the guys, the young fellas that were in Summer League, they should go back to the city where they live and just try to learn with rest and recover from the intensity of the Summer League and also the training of it. And then report back to the city where they're playing in sometime in early September. And remember, there's so many injuries. It's not a question of a player doesn't want to work hard. Sometimes you can work hard and your lower body rebels against it, where you have so many injuries of lower leg, either shin splints or sore ankles or pulled hamstrings, and that's from not being in shape. It's being overuse. And a lot of times when you're a type A personality, especially a young guy, is that you think that it's never going to happen to you, but it does. So it's that balance between how often did a coaching staff come to your city to work you out, or do you work in a group session in San Diego or in L.A. or in Las Vegas or back east in Atlanta or in New York City? As far as a group, you've got to understand your body. And the more times that you can do that, the more advantageous it is for you to try to not have so many lower body injuries.
We're talking about the soap opera that is the NBA in this offseason. We had like a real reality television show, a real soap opera kind of headline when there was a physical altercation when Tyler Hero allegedly was punched in the face by Bam Adebayo down in Vegas at Summer League play. And, both players have said we're just trying to move on from this. The league does not look like it's going to levy any discipline for either player in the situation. How do teams look at it, though? I mean, these guys are no longer teammates. How does the NBA look at a situation like this? Does a guy get put on kind of a short leash because they've gone from just an argument to a physical altercation? Or how's it handled kind of behind the scenes?
Well, from Miami Heat point of view, Tyler Hero got traded. So I'm assuming that Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero, when they were teammates for the Miami Heat, probably didn't like each other as far as what they represented. And Tyler Hero, just watching him play over the years, he's a finesse player and really a non-defensive player. Bam Adebayo is the opposite. He's a tremendous defensive player, a willing rebounder, and it seems to me that he's more team-orientated. So there's probably a lot of ill advice that was going on internally, and that both players viewed each other as challenging personalities. And what happened, very simply, to remind people, there was a trade that the Milwaukee Bucks acquired Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez, Coel Ware, and Casper Risachonis they acquired from the Heat, and the Heat acquired from the Bucks Giannis and Bobby Portis. So it's more of a thing that was deep-seated. I'm sure it happened in practice many times where those guys were at each other, and they made a trade. Now, for the Heat, they're starting over with Giannis and Bobby Portis, and with the Milwaukee Bucks, they're starting over, and Tyler Hero gets a new slate. So a lot of times it's deep-seated. It starts in practice, and it ends in the locker room also. And from the NBA standpoint right now is that it's really case by case and team by team.
Looking at the situation with Kawhi and the Clippers, he's no longer with the Clippers. Again, there were some rumors out there that Adam Silver and the NBA kind of forced a moving on from Kawhi and the Clippers because there's that complication, there's that investigation and things like that. The NBA front office and Silver himself, they have denied that they had any influence in moving on Kawhi Leonard from the Clippers for a fresh start back in Toronto. But there is now a mandate that the investigation into salary cap circumvention be completed before the season begins. So whoever wants to, punish the Clippers for this has got to get it in front of the league, at least closer to before the trade is all the way completed. You have to have resolution on this issue. How much time is this going to take, Gordy?
Well, the first thing that should be done already, over. So they had enough time even before the trade. And let's review the trade. The Raptors acquired Kawhi Leonard, and the Clippers acquired Brandon Ingram and Grady Dick, and a first-round picks in 2031 and 2033, and second-round picks in 2030 and 2033, and the rights to swap picks next year in 2027. And so the trade did not go through officially until, one, you've got to pass the physical of each team, but also because of Kawhi Leonard's situation with the Clippers. For the listeners that might have forgot, that's when the Clippers allegedly circumvented the trade rule, and that they're able to, and the salary cap, when they acquired Kawhi Leonard from the Raptors, ironically, and they paid him a whole bunch of money through a third party, and then the Clippers said that they didn't know about it. And, of course, that's the question right now. And that also shows the second part of that, where they're saying that they violated it twice now with another situation with Kawhi Leonard being paid by an outside source. Because at that time when the trade was made, that the Clippers couldn't fit him into the salary cap. But they did with this maneuvering, and now there's an outside counsel that has not ruled yet, and that's the problem right now. You've got to make a ruling about it. My instincts tell me that the Clippers are at fault.
So the NBA, according to Adam Silver, the NBA is not the one pausing the completion of the trade, but the Clippers and the Raptors agreed that, well, yeah, we're not going to put this thing all the way through until a resolution. And it makes sense from the Raptors side of things, especially because if Kawhi is going to be suspended or Kawhi is going to have to serve some kind of penalty for this, and you've just traded a bunch of assets for him, you get no return on that investment, so you might not want to do this. It's very rare in pro sports that trades get reversed for any reason at all. And when they do, oftentimes it's because of like a physical being failed or something.
Yes.
We saw this in the NFL recently with the Crosby trade to Baltimore. But even that is like, it's pretty rare. So is there, in your mind, is there any real risk that this trade doesn't go through because of this investigation?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, there's a risk. Yes, there is. Because it's never happened before. As far as you mentioned about injuries, this is not injuries. This is circumventing the salary cap. And that's why, remember now, it's the whole league. The Board of Governors is the 30 NBA owners. And that if you allow this to happen, is that it affects everyone else as far as the business model. And so they want to know what happened and how can they stop this to never happen again. And that's what makes it so interesting. Stephen Ballmer is the owner of the Clippers, and he's part of it right now. We'll see. There's no ruling on it, so now they have to let's find out what is going on, because it does affect. It affects the Clippers, who affects the Jazz, and for the Raptors, it affects the Knickerbockers, who are the world champions. So it affects all 30 teams in the NBA.
For the record, for people who maybe forgot what this is all about, the allegation is that Kawhi Leonard received an endorsement from a now bankrupt company that Steve Ballmer invested in, and the allegation is that he invested in this company so he could indirectly pay Kawhi Leonard more than he is allowed to pay him under salary cap rules. Kawhi gets an extra, $23 million because Steve Ballmer is a billionaire who can throw around $60 million investments and not really care if that company goes under. Ballmer has denied that he knew that that's what was going to be done with the money, et cetera, et cetera. And look, it's the perfect plausible deniability. You can say hey, this company had a partnership with the Clippers that is totally viable. Now they're bankrupt. Too bad for them. But initially the plan was that they would have a sponsorship endorsement deal with the Clippers, and it was actually supposed to be a total of like $300 million over a decade or so. Unfortunately, the company goes under, but Kawhi Leonard still got his money. It was a $28 million endorsement deal. And, so Aspiration is the name of the banking company. They had a $300 million 23-year endorsement deal with the team. And again, Steve Ballmer invested $60 million into this company. So at least $60 million of his money went to Aspiration, and then $28 million went to Kawhi Leonard. One could infer that $28 million came directly from the $60 million investment of Steve Ballmer, and that would be a very convenient way to get around the salary cap. That's where the accusation is centered.
Yeah, the timing of it.
Yes.
That's the problem, is the timing of it. So, again, the NBA, they understand this, and they want to have resolution of doing it, of what happens, and they need to, they know it, they need to get this done because it affects so many other teams as far as the domino effect. So we shall see. Also, Sean, on the NBA front right now is the LeBron James watch.
The LeBron James sweepstakes is something I had on my notes I wanted to get to here.
Yes.
Last thing on Kawhi Leonard. If it's found that he was part of salary cap circumvention, the NBA can void his contract and fine him as a player $350,000.
Yes, they could. That's right. The trade wouldn't happen because this doesn't have a contract technically.
But if his contract is voided, forgive me for not knowing, he's a free agent. So then Toronto can get it without giving anything back to the Clippers. So if you're Toronto, you're just like, oh, cool. Well, who knows? And I'm really, really curious because this feels like, a rabbit hole, kind of like performance-enhancing drugs in the NFL that the league might not actually want to go down.
Oh, no, not at all. They really do not, because it's a bad for the partners in the NBA. And so we shall see it. But again, it's already mid-July, and training camp starts the end of September. So there is a clock on this situation. So we shall see. And speaking of the clock, Sean, with LeBron James, we mentioned last week that LeBron is the number one player out there as far as the domino effect. Here are some guys that are still out there in the NBA as far as free agents, and it'll fall into place once LeBron signs, either, I believe, with the Cavaliers or possibly the Golden State Warriors. Here's some names that are out there right now. Bradley Beal, Kevin Love, George Niang, former Jazz man, DeMar DeRozan, Benedict Mathurin from the Clippers. Ironically, again, it mentioned about Kawhi Leonard, and as far as the trade, he's restricted. Peyton Watson, very good young talent from the Nuggets. He's also restricted. Jonathan Kuminga of the Atlanta Hawks now is out there. They moved on from him. Spencer Dinwiddie, a very good all-around talented age 33-year-old guy that helps the team. Russell Westbrook. Draymond Green opted out of his $27.6 million contract to get it. And also James Harden is out there, $42.3 million, and LeBron. So there's 12 guys out there, plus many other guys that have not signed yet. And that's a bad feeling for an NBA player that technically right now you're unemployed in the middle of July. And again, with European teams, most times, Sean, European teams want to have their foreign players, usually NBA players, on their roster, usually by the first week of August.
Okay.
Because they start practice, Sean, roughly in the middle of August. So the time is catching up right now.
Speaking of European teams, a lot of reports out there that the NBA is ramping up its discussions with potential owners of NBA Europe franchises. They want to launch a league in 2027. So this time next year, we could have a full plan in place. What is that going to look like, Gordy? You're a lot more dialed in on how basketball and basketball prospects and all that stuff is handled in Europe. And there's some really healthy, thriving brands in Eurobasket, in European EuroLeague basketball. And now the NBA is potentially elbowing its way in here. Is it going to be collaborative? Is it going to be a hostile environment? Does the NBA have to fill niches that, like, there's already a really big club in Barcelona that's attached to the Barcelona soccer club ownership and things like that. I mean, what's this? Is it going to be a fight for the NBA to get into Europe, or is it going to happen smoothly, you think?
Well, involved is FIBA. So FIBA's involved, and this would be a different, this would be NBA players, but the FIBA would be running it with partnership of the NBA. And so they're talking about 6 different cities, and that some NBA players that are ultra wealthy might buy into the team, Sean. So imagine being an NBA player and you're going to buy into a team in Europe as far as with some other with NBA talent. And so it still is a work in progress. We've not seen the cities as far as who they are and who coaches the teams and what number of NBA players are allowable to be on these teams in Europe. So it's still right now, so much is up in the air, but they've discussed it right now. And the TV partners, who gets the TV rights from it? Is European rights? Is it TNT now buying into it? Is it Amazon buying into it? No one knows it right now. But so it's right now, it's still a work in progress with nothing definite, minus that we want to do this. So we shall see. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, how big do you think this ends up being for the NBA? Because we see all the time, right, these professional leagues, they kind of flirt with the idea of development. Now, the G League is a real thing and is a product that is well established. The NFL has never really done this. They don't necessarily need to because college football serves as their developmental league. The NHL has relationships and they have a club system. Obviously, Major League Baseball has their club system all the way through from single A up to triple A baseball and stuff. And it's not brand new territory for the NBA, but it's somewhat familiar territory in a potentially new environment. How deep is this going to go for the NBA? How much money are they going to throw at this right away? How experimental is it going to be? Or is it like, hey, if we're going and we're staying?
Well, the question right now is who's going to have the main rights to it? Is it FIBA or is it the NBA?
Okay.
That's the question philosophically. And there's still, it's right now, it still has not been determined as far as that. So that's the first major hurdle that they have to talk it out and sign contracts as far as doing it. And again, also the TV partners. And are they NBA type player talent, or are they actually NBA players that are part of a union of the NBA, or is it a new union of both players that been in the NBA with players also that are foreign born that are now playing on these teams as teammates? So again, there's just so many different things as far as having it. There's enough players around the world that make it work, though, as far as talent level. There are. And speaking of the G League, Sean, last year in the G League, NBA, there was 53 players, 53% of the players in the NBA roster to start the season last year played in the G League at least one game.
Wow.
In their career. 53% of the NBA players, which shows you that it's here to come. It started in 2002, and now it's this is 25 years coming up anniversary. So it's going to be great, though.
Gordy Chiesa here in studio with us, brought to you by our friends at Aladdin Industries. If you're looking for a skylight on the home, your Utah Velux dealer, Aladdin Industries, has you covered. Gordy, what's your list today?
My list today, right on point. Sean, we talked about European basketball. This list today is a 1992 United States men's Olympic roster dream team. So the World Cup is going on right now. It's been a home run as far as the countries. We know Argentina is really great in it. And this list is right now the original dream team. For the young listeners, It's the first time in Olympic history that NBA players are allowed to participate in the Olympics. This team was elected in 2010 into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame as a team. The team of 1992 Dream Team won a gold medal by an average of 44 points. The Olympic Games were played, again, mentioned Sean, in the same city, Barcelona, Spain. In this game, in the gold medal game, USA defeated Croatia for the Olympic gold medal. The head coach was Chuck Daly. All right, here's the roster. Point guards, Magic Johnson and John Stockton. Shooting guards, Michael Jordan and Clyde Drexler. Small forwards, Larry Bird, Scottie Pippen, and Chris Mullin. Power forwards, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, and the only college player at that time, Christian Laettner, out of Duke University. The centers were Patrick Ewing and David Robinson. Michael Jordan was the only player to start all 6 Olympic Games, which I mentioned earlier. They won by 44 points on an average. This is the greatest ever basketball team ever assembled. 11 of the 12 players have been inducted into the Naismith Hall of Fame. The only player not being inducted is Christian Laettner. So this is the 1992 original Dream Team. That was the first time ever that before that, the other countries had professional players playing in it, and we're playing our college players.
Right.
And then finally in 1992, this was the original Dream Team, and Jazz was represented very well in John Stockton and also in Karl Malone. This is my list of today.
I mean, I know it was designed to be exactly that, the Dream Team. I wonder if there's ever been a team anywhere in any sport that has that level of dominance and talent on the same team. Like, I don't know enough about the big red machine of like Soviet hockey back in the day, like the equivalent. I mean, a lot of those guys were not playing in the NHL at the time, right? But it just feels like, is there some Pakistani cricket team that's the equivalent of this? It feels like, based at least on our knowledge of it, that is the best team that's ever been put together in any sport.
Correct. In any sport ever, as far as one group of people, and it was by design. And now in Olympic basketball, again, it's pretty soon. It's 2 summers from now in LA.
Right.
It's going to be huge. And we know that USA, as great as the players are, is a country called, Sean, you've been there many times, so have I, France, led by Victor Wembanyama and that crew. They're going to try to spoil the Olympic USA dominance. USA's won 5 straight Olympic gold medals now in basketball, 5 in a row. Okay. And so now the coach is Eric Spoelstra is the coach, and Grant Hill runs USA basketball right now, former great NBA player and also in the Hall of Fame. It's going to be challenging because right now basketball is a global sport, and that's what makes it so interesting. There's great players all over the world. Remember, it took every ounce of Steph Curry's brilliance to beat Serbia, led by Nikola Jokic, 95-91, where Steph was outrageous in that game, making those 3-point shots 2 years ago. Now, in 2 years later, 2 years now, in the future, in LA Olympics, we shall see what's going to happen. But I do know, Sean, some of those guys you mentioned earlier today, as far as Cooper Flagg and those guys, they should be on the Olympic team. It's that unbelievable transformation of talent of each generation to play in the Olympics. Remember, it's so ironically, Sean, the World Cup is bigger in every other country in the world minus basketball. So Soccer World Cup is bigger than in basketball, the World Cup in basketball. But in America, Olympics are number 1.
Yeah.
That's the mentality of it.
Help 200 children at the Road Home start school in style. If you stop by the Advocates in Ogden, American Fork, or Murray, you could pick an apple from the tree they've got in the lobby. You could supply clothing and backpacks for a child at the Road Home. Or you can shop and donate online at appletreeforkids.com. Every child deserves an advocate. Stop by today. See ESPN700sports.com or appletreeforkids.com for more details. Help kids out at the Road Home for their back-to-school shopping. All right, it's a jam-packed show. Big thanks to Gordy for being in here for the last hour. JP Chunga, the voice of the Utah Royals, the Salt Lake City Stars, is going to join us to talk a little World Cup soccer. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. If you're just tuning in, I made a confession at the beginning of the show that I've become a soccer fan. Not just World Cup soccer. I went down and watched RSL Burnley last night, and it was a great game. It was awesome. Very excited for the second half of the RSL campaign in MLS soccer. We still have two more World Cup games, one more that I think we actually care about. The third, fourth place game, I'm not sure why they even do it. I know it's tradition, and I know it's something that is part of the fabric of the World Cup. It defies American sensibilities that you should play for the third and fourth place. This is not the Olympics, but let them do what they want. England and France can figure that out. It'll be Argentina-Spain in a World Cup final. Joining us to talk about that and much more, JP Chunga, a man he wears many, many hats. Host of the Round Ball Roundup podcast, the voice of the Utah Royals FC. He also voices Salt Lake City Stars games. He also works for the Utah Jazz in their digital media department. He is also a friend of the program, and this conversation is brought to you by Beer Bar, your home for World Cup soccer on ESPN 792 on FM. JP Chunga, welcome to the show. How are you?
John, I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. It slipped my mind that you were up in the booth on Friday night when I was down at America First Field watching a Princess drone show with my family. I would have come up and said hello and probably made your job worse.
Wow. All right. So what's the favorite princess?
Well, it varies. I have 3 princesses of my own. So I think right now Moana is probably top billing for the younger 2. And my 7-year-old has decided that like the traditional wear a dress type princess is not her thing for now. So I think like Princess Leia is probably her favorite princess at the moment.
That works.
Works
and
great for me.
on the drone show.
Yeah.
Yeah, as we saw on the drone show, a lot of people were there and excited about the entire evening and to watch the Utah Royals.
It was great. It's a great night out at the ballpark, so to speak. If you ever want to get down there, relatively family-friendly ticket pricing and things like that. I highly encourage any of you to go watch a little NWSL and I don't know, put some headphones in and listen to JP Chunga on the broadcast. Look, I got caught up in this soccer fever because it's the World Cup, and I fully expected, JP, that it would be kind of a pump and dump. You know what I mean? That I'd be like, all right, let me get as much content as I can out of this for the summertime dog days in the show. And, we'll have fun watching and cheering on the U.S. men's national team. And then I'll put it away like I do, Olympic volleyball until 4 years from now and when I care about it again. But soccer really caught me this time. And I determined part of it is because I've gotten deeper into hockey these last couple of seasons, and there's some similarities to, like, the passing that sets up the scoring, and maybe I'm a little better at watching soccer than I was before. But I'm wondering, do you feel like this North American World Cup, this American-hosted World Cup, a little bit of hype around the U.S. men's national team, will have any kind of sustainable effect on soccer fandom in the United States, outside of course, the most important one, me?
Absolutely, and you are number one in our hearts. I think, and this is something that happened during the entire tournament in the group chats that I had with people who are varying sports fans, traditional, baseball, football, and they would text and blow up these group chats during the games and say, this is the greatest World Cup game I've ever seen. And that happens seemingly every week and with nearly every single Argentina game because of the comebacks that they had to endure during this entire tournament. But to the overall question of will this have any staying power, I think these moments where we have these crazy games, it's only going to help the entire sport, whether it's the Princess Night that you show up to at the Utah Royals with NWSL, they'll feel this as well with people being more interested into soccer. But I think back to Sunday when England and Mexico are playing at the Azteca in one of the greatest environments that we've ever seen in sports. And even the hardened English journalists are talking about how crazy of an atmosphere this is. It's razor's edge stuff, similar to hockey, where the ball's in play. There's activity of defending a goal against a hostile crowd, and people can only gravitate towards that. The passion of this cup has been unreal to watch, and you have some of the greatest of all time going at it with Lionel Messi and now this amazing picture with him and Lamine Yamal as the GOAT and the new GOAT. I mean, it's crazy. It's not even AI. It's wild.
We have to talk about this. So if people are not aware, I'm sure you've seen this viral photo at some point, and maybe we could add some context to it. I'm new to all of this, right? And I couldn't believe this is actually real. But a young Leo Messi did a photo campaign, did like a charity PR kind of situation where they raffled off the opportunity to have your baby in a photo with Barcelona players. And Leo Messi happened to be one at the time. And the baby who won is now Spain's rising young superstar, Lamine Yamal. So there's real pictures, not AI pictures, of Leo Messi giving baby Lamine Yamal a bath, basically. It is absolutely insane. And now their teams face one another in a World Cup final. The mathematical odds on something like this being a reality have to be virtually impossible. It feels like destiny of some sort, and I can't explain why it matters, but the fact that this happened 20 years ago and now they're facing one another is bananas.
And it's star-crossed that Yamal is playing for Lionel Messi's team in Barcelona. Of all the things that have to happen for you to be a youth product in Spain, be good enough to make it into one of the greatest academies of all, and then be a talent that makes the first team and then gets selected to one of the most competitive national teams in the entire world. It is star-crossed. It might be destiny. And for this to be a precursor to a final in the American World Cup it's exactly what the sport needed. And I was a little young in '94. Some would say 1 year old and not necessarily cognizant.
Right.
But
don't flex your youth on the rest of us olds, okay?
But that was a big boom for soccer. It birthed Major League Soccer. It birthed an entire league that would lead to a professional team being in Salt Lake. And that comes up. I'm around when RSL starts and is playing at Rice-Eccles Stadium, and their coach is yelling at Spence Checketts' dad. Like, these things happen that make you connected to the sport, and you're hooked for life. So if this is something for someone coming up watching soccer now, it's only good for this game it continues to mature with Major League Soccer and the professional teams here.
Someone needs to go find if there's ever a photo of Michael Jordan giving like baby LeBron or a bath, okay? Because that's this level. It's completely bananas. While that is, like you said, star-crossed and crazy, let's talk about the matchup itself. I mean, Messi should not be doing what Messi does, right? The guy, he's coming up on 40. Soccer, like every other pro sport, is very much a young man's game, and yet he's been better in the last 2 World Cups than he was in his first 4 World Cups, and he has an opportunity to go back-to-back. Spain is the only thing that stands in Argentina's way. How do you handicap the game? What do you think the keys to it are?
Yeah, I think it's pretty regular for you to have the favorite not being Argentina, as it has been at different points during this tournament. And that's fine. I think I agree with that. But Argentina has created a team, an environment, a system that is built around their best player in Lionel Messi. And for him to deliver in these moments every single time, it's going to be how Spain matches up with Messi and whether they decide to crowd him like England did for seemingly 80 minutes and then he gets off on this crazy run going wide and crossing balls into the box. But Spain has a very talented group, and it is the type of scenario where you're seeing a team that has grown up together at the same academies, playing for Barcelona. There's a very Barcelona influence in the way that they play, and Spain exerts control by having the ball, playing a little bit more conservatively than the Argentinian style, which will be very physical. And ultimately rely on the brilliance of Lionel Messi, but having all these players to protect him. Whether he can find the ball in different spaces, whether it's out wide or whether it's those 1-2s that they do in the middle, that'll be the key to the game. And whether Argentina, as the ultimate underdog in another World Cup final with Lionel Messi leading the charge, whether they're able to come up on top. But I think Spain should be the favorite and would be the team that I would pick on Sunday.
So obviously Messi has scored a bunch of goals in this tournament and a bunch of goals in international competition and is the all-time goals leader in World Cup play. And especially in this England matchup, we saw how important he is to Argentina even when he doesn't score the goals, right? When he facilitates for somebody else to score the goals. Is there any meat on the bone for Argentina? Of course they want Messi to score, but is there any way that you can just say, look, they're going to mark Messi, they're going to over-index toward Messi. If we pull Messi out and have him out on the edges to where he's servicing into the box with corner kicks like we saw with England, like we can create a weakness. We can create an opening for somebody else because they have the talent around him to at least capitalize on that. Is that something that tactically would make sense for Argentina?
So people have been thinking about this question for 20 years, his entire career, and nobody has a perfect answer for that. Just showing people how deep his talent is. He can do anything, whether he's being the provider, whether he's being the scorer, whether he's picking it up. Sometimes you see in these tournaments and with these exceptional players, they'll go back into the defensive line, pick up the ball, and try to carry it forward just through individual skill and brilliance. It's the reason why Diego Maradona, in a game against England in 1986, goes on a 50-yard run. It's the greatest goal in World Cup history. He has all the answers to the test. This is the ultimate version of Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers. Pick the quarterback of your flavor. That is Lionel Messi, and he's doing it at a Tom Brady pace where it doesn't even look like he's going to slow down. He could change leagues. He'll do it. He'll do it in the French league. He'll do it in the Spanish league. He'll do it in Major League Soccer. So even if they crowd him, even if they turn him into a provider, he will still have an answer to the question, and he'll be able to find a solution at some point.
Has he said this is his last World Cup? Has Leo Messi said, I'm not doing it again?
I don't think he can, and I don't think he should, because you see how long athletes are going now. LeBron's captivating the NBA audience at 41 with his free agent decision. Now he likes the attention, and I'm sure he's going to make a big deal about where he picks next. But you're seeing athletes go even longer and longer. Tom Brady, who I mentioned earlier, Messi could do this for as long as he wants. And as you watch him week to week in the MLS with Inter Miami, winning a championship there, how are we supposed to doubt this man? He's proved us wrong at every point.
And I know I've over-indexed on this fact, but he has scored more goals after turning 35 than before he turned 35.
Right. And only doing it, I mean, consider also the weight of the jersey that you have with him. Many people have Diego Maradona as their GOAT before Messi. They think he's the greatest World Cup performer, soccer player of all time. Him and Pele are the tops of the tops. And it's because of that, Maradona with his shadow, Maradona even coached him at a World Cup. That's how heavy the shadow was. And he was theirs. He played in Argentina. He wore the jersey. He performed for the national team. He performed for a club team. And Messi was the one who left, who went to Spain, who did his development with the Barcelona Academy. So he wasn't necessarily theirs until he wins a World Cup. And then he does it, and then he's now on the precipice of doing it again after making it to 2 previous finals. It's incredible what he's been able to do with all that pressure on top of his shoulders.
Outside of the final matchup that we've got here, what was your favorite moment of this World Cup?
So I was rooting for Mexico a lot during this World Cup, and it was because of the atmosphere of the Azteca. And that game was it was exactly what needs to be advertised about the sport, because it had adversity. It had what some would describe as densethery with the red card. You had multiple things going on, and ultimately you saw a team powered by a brilliant young star with Jude Bellingham be able to withstand it, have a goalkeeper stand on its head. It had chances back and forth, and that on road soil at altitude, they're talking about the smog heading into the game, all the adversity that England had faced. Even as someone who was rooting for Mexico in that moment and seeing how it felt as a fan to see them not come through, to appreciate that as a sporting moment, I loved that game. Every minute of that match was spine tingling, put you on the edge of your seat, and exactly why we love sports.
JP, I appreciate you giving us some time and perspective here on soccer. Big thanks to Beer Bar for making it possible to have soccer guests on throughout this World Cup. You've got Saturday action with the Utah Royals, is that right?
Got Saturday as the Utah Royals take on the Orlando Pride. Kickoff at 6:45, so you can get your tickets at utahroyals.com.
Thanks, JP. Appreciate you.
No worries. Thanks, man.
JP Chunga, voice of the Salt Lake City Stars, voice of the Utah Royals, soccer aficionado, and you can hear his work again on Saturday. I recommend you get down to a Utah Royals game. It's they got a good thing going on there at America First Field. I've been twice in the last 5 days, 6 days. It's great. It's wonderful. Get out there for the NWSL Utah Royals return against Orlando Pride. Win the ultimate 80s weekend getaway. Get ready to relive the greatest decade of music with ESPN 700's Concert on the Slopes VIP giveaway. One lucky winner will score 2 VIP tickets to 38 Special, 2 VIP tickets to Taylor Dane and Expose, 2 VIP tickets to Sawyer Brown, plus 2-night stay at the beautiful Grand Summit Hotel at Canyons Village. Whether you're rocking out to Hold On Loosely, singing along to Tell It to My Heart, or dancing the weekend away, this is your chance for an unforgettable 80s escape. Enter to win at ESPN700sports.com. Do it right now. All right, the Daily Dump is next. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. We got to make it quick on the Daily Dump, brought to you by Valley Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, because we got a little Open Championship, British Open, whatever you call it. There's 3 titles that are acceptable, at least in my book. We'll talk
maybe just
about that with John Wright. Craig Bolerjack also going to join us in hour number 3 on a jam-packed show. The Daily Dump brought to you by our friends at Valley Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Check out the truck with the duck for all of your plumbing, heating, and cooling needs. Reminder also, Zach Bryan taking over Rice-Eccles Stadium on August 7th. We want to send you and a concert buddy to the show. Tune into The Drive with Spence Checketts around 4:20 p.m. for your chance to score a pair of tickets. Did Spence decide the time he's giving that away? 4:20?
It sure seems like a Spence Checketts
ESPN700sports.com for more details. Zach Bryan coming to Rice-Eccles Stadium. Ticket giveaway at 4:20 p.m.
Was that Zach Bryan's folks that maybe they chose the time? I don't know.
Zach, what are you doing, man?
Those musicians, you never know.
You never know. They're not taking things seriously.
And
can I say this? There's we've all seen this, and it's become more of a trend lately where every athlete and their friends, they'll have podcasts now. And something that you see all the time on these podcasts is they get into financial discussions, and almost invariably, these young fellas, or even sometimes the older fellas, will start talking about how the money they made as an NBA player, the money they made as an NFL player, the money they made in Major League Baseball is just actually not as much as people think it is, right? Well, $20 million after the fact is really only $9 million once you get the taxes taken out of it. And I got to have 15 cars, and I got to pay for 12 people to follow me around everywhere and all this stuff. And there's this, like, trend of athletes coming on and doing, like, backwards, disgusting, like, girl math where they're just like, well, you can't not buy these things. It's on sale, so I had to buy it. It was on sale. I had to buy 4 houses. Right? And then I guess they're trying to get sympathy, and they do it every single time with this tone of like, you guys don't know what it's like to be rich. You guys don't know how difficult it is to be rich. It is the most tone-deaf behavior that you can possibly see from professional athletes. And it happens everywhere. It happens on a podcast at least once a week these days. There should be a moratorium on these guys getting asked questions about finances because it makes them look like they are out of touch with every fan, and also makes them look like complete morons because they're like, yeah, I made $40 million in the NBA, but that's really only $21 million in the NBA. So could you make $21 million last for the rest of your life? And every human being who doesn't play professional athletics is like, yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, or you know what? I'd sure like a chance to try.
I'd be like, yeah, I could figure that out. Well, we could be, all of you Utes out there, stand up and be proud, because the voice of reason, at least in the NBA circles, has come in on Twitter, and it is none other than our guy Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma, former Ute,
who's made a lot of money himself.
He's made a ton of money, right? He came out with this off the top rope to all of the complainers, all of his fellow NBA stars or borderline stars that are going on these podcasts and going on these broadcasts and talking about the sad song and play the violin and the sob story of how being rich really isn't as rich as you think rich is because you guys don't know about taxes. Please, every one of us has to pay taxes. This is Kyle Kuzma. It's absolutely wonderful. Not going to lie, it's exhausting hearing athletes break down their millions, how they aren't really millions after taxes and fees. $40 million after taxes is still $40 million. The real issue isn't the system, it's lifestyle creep. Nobody told you to live like a king, buy 5 cars, or move with a 10-person entourage. Modest is allowed. And then people are all in his comments basically clapping for him, applauding his stance. He says, and they say it like they're going to get empathy from regular folks that are using credit reward points for groceries right now. Kyle Kuzma is serving as the voice of reason and wisdom for his fellow NBA players. Like, look, if you want to complain about being rich, do it somewhere else. if you want to complain about rich people's stuff, I know rich people, okay? This sounds like me trying to brag. It's a flex. It's not because of any accomplishment I own, but I have some friends that are very, very wealthy. And when I hear them complaining about wealthy people problems.
We know Sandy, neighborhood guy. We already know OC.
Yes, that's right. Jordan High School has produced a lot of very rich people, right? When your friend is complaining about how their plane that their private plane is not as, cheap as they thought it was going to be.
It's not very fuel efficient.
You're just like, knock it off. When your friend is just like, dude, this Ferrari that I just bought, my dog got hair all over the front seat. You're like, dude, stop talking like this.
My wife's door hit into it, so now
I got a door ding on a Lamborghini, and you're just like, stop doing this. If you want to have those complaints, do it at the country. Do it at the private airplane hangar with the other rich people, okay? Don't talk to me about these rich people things. And, you maintain good humor about it, but you roll your eyes, and you're just like, I'm sorry that your yacht, you had to hire a new captain for your yacht because the last guy left. Like, shut up. That Kyle Kuzma, who knew? Kyle Kuzma, who's always wearing those crazy, fashion experiment clothes for his NBA arrivals, who knew that he was such a man of the people?
Well, so it actually is completely on brand, considering he's the guy who from Flint, Michigan, and Flint is a well-documented water problem, and he's the guy who has a ton of times over the years tweeted out. You guys know that there's X amount of, I don't know off the top of my head, X amount of people in our country, in the United States of America, who don't have clean water to drink, right? So he's done this type of thing before, been a man of the people kind of voice for that local problem for him in his hometown. So this, you know what? This doesn't surprise me that much, knowing he has always remembered his roots about what's going on at Flint, Michigan. He's remembering his roots as a guy who wasn't always rich, too, OC. So hats off to you, Kyle Kuzma. We still love you here in Salt Lake City.
Lou Williams went on a podcast and said the average NBA player goes broke because $5 million is not a lot of money.
Yikes.
He said that. Sebastian Telfair went on a podcast and said his $20 million in NBA earnings actually broke down to about $1 million a year after taxes. He played 10 years, and he's like, yeah, he actually ended up making about $1 million a year. And he's acting like that's not enough.
Like, that's not a lot of money. Like, goodness gracious.
It's a wild thing. And I get it. Your level of expectation and your spending changes drastically when you're in these circles, when you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, right?
Well, who
the best person to listen to on all this financial stuff is? You know who's the best to listen to?
Dave Ramsey.
When he talks about it? Shaquille O'Neal.
Shaq. Okay.
Shaquille O'Neal is so wonderful to hear talking about his lessons and the way that he learned how to be, a successful, mega wealthy person. Because Shaq went through the growing pains. Shaq spent the first $1 million that he was given in the NBA the first day that he got it. And he'll tell you that, and he'll tell you what a mistake it was. And Shaq is incredibly charitable, by the way. He's always helping people out. And Shaq will tell you the hard lessons he had to learn when, his stepdad would take him and see, he would be complaining about something basketball-related, rich guy basketball-related, and his military-centric stepdad would take him down and show him a family standing outside a homeless shelter and be like, stop your whining. Shaq is really wonderful to talk to. I want Shaq doing all of these conversations. I don't want to hear Lou Williams telling me that $5 million is not enough money. And look, a lot of these guys they don't enter the NBA. They're equipped with good financial sense. They don't come, a lot of these guys, from backgrounds where the people around them can tell them what to do. But guess what? The resources are there in every professional league. They have it. To be an NBA player, who maybe comes into the league and thinks, I better make more than $5 million a year because $5 million a year is not a lot of money. I heard Lou Williams talk about it. You could literally walk down the hall in the practice facility and be like, hey, do we have a financial advisor? Do we have like a finances person that could help me make sure I get my money right? And every NBA team can answer, yeah, we have that.
Or, you know what? Your players union has all of those people you already pay. However much
paying for those. Yes.
However much they have to pay, whatever dues they have to pay for being a part of the Players Association and having being able to utilize all the resources, lawyers and whatnot. They've got financial planners in those organizations as well. I don't know that for sure, but like it seems like they probably do. So it's there's no reason today, unless you are just not seeking help, for you not to be able to make $1 million a year, Sebastian Telfair, or $5 million, Lou Williams, last for the rest of your life. Absolutely.
$1 million doesn't go as far as it used to. All
Sure.
right, Sebastian. But it's still plenty to get by on.
It's $1 million a year. It's not one time like a certain fighter got.
Well, and by the way, when people talk about there is a difference between being a professional athlete and an accountant or a doctor or a UPS driver or whatever you are, because you have a window of opportunity. Your earnings are narrow, right? When you're talking about your athletic earnings, the thing that is not ever explored with these conversations where guys are so short-sighted on this stuff is the opportunity you have by being a professional athlete to then parlay that into whatever else. Coaching, analyst work, broadcasting, like scouting.
Entrepreneur. So many of these, like you mentioned Shaq, like that guy has become a business mogul.
Private equity guys. You know, Steve Young, obviously a prominent athlete with ties here to the state of Utah. You know, Steve Young is like a mega millionaire. Not because of his NFL years, but because of private equity.
Yeah.
He's a partner in a private equity firm now. And you know that Steve Young doesn't need to do his broadcasting work anymore. And in fact, it's actually losing him money when he spends time doing analyst work on a broadcast.
And he doesn't do that much of it anymore, yeah.
But guess what? You know why he still does it? Because his private equity firm partners want Steve Young to still be Steve Young, so that they can get into rooms and do deals with people who want to be in business with Steve Young. Like, that's a professional athlete. That's what the professional athlete path offers you on some level. Not everyone is as handsome and charismatic and intelligent as Steve Young, but just hearing anybody who has these opportunities use them as a grounds for complaint, thank you, Kyle Kuzma, for calling it out. It is wonderful.
Shout out to Kuz.
Always great to see a Ute putting sense back into people. You know what I mean? All right, we're way over time here. We'll come back with John Wright. We got Craig Bolerjack joining us still. Talk a little golf at the British Open next on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. All right, time to talk a little golf. The British Open is happening right now. Conversations here on the Sean O'Connell Show, brought to you by You Into Golf. You Into Golf by Worldwide Golf, in-store, free custom fitting. You Into Golf has locations all up and down the Wasatch Front, or you can shop online at worldwidegolf.com. John Wright, kind enough to join us here, one of the most decorated golfers here from the state of Utah and a friend of the program, to talk a little bit about what's going on at the Royal Birkdale. John Wright, welcome. How are you, sir?
I'm well, thanks, OC. Good to be here.
Do you have a preference on calling it the Open Championship, or the British Open?
Well, they prefer it the Open Championship, so they like to be a little snooty over there. So I call it the Open, but I grew up calling it the British Open my whole life. So,
well, we'll use it interchangeably here on the show. So, we're just off at the start of this thing. What are you thinking of the play so far? What do you think of the course and how it's playing so far?
Well, first of all, I love this tournament because of when the broadcast window. So I never sleep well. So I woke up around 5 this morning, and the Open was on, which was great. And Scotty Scheffler is one of the first groups off, and watched a little bit of that, and then actually went and played a round of golf and did some work, came back, and it's still on. I love it. So the thing that jumps out at me so far is the different playing conditions. The guys who played early had a much better go of it. This golf course is completely burned out. I just got back from the British Senior Amateur last week in England as well, and they haven't had rain in like 3 months. And this golf course looks like concrete to me. Like, they're keeping the greens alive, but the rest of the golf course is browned out and super firm. Rory McIlroy hit a driver on a 389-yard hole and rolled it over the back of the green. So the ball is definitely rolling, and there's quite a bit of wind. So the afternoon players, the guys playing right now, they're holding it together. But the guys who played earlier had a bit of an advantage, and that'll switch tomorrow because they flip tee times. But that was the two things that jumped out at me. It's just that the wind has picked up and it's super dry, and the ball it's hard to control your ball when you don't know how far it's going to roll.
I mean, I'm sure these guys are forecasting out, and they've become aware that the weather is, kind of anomalous right now in the UK. But I imagine when you're expecting to go overseas across the pond and play over there, that you're not expecting those types of conditions, right? So is there any adjustment you make, realizing, holy cow, we're going to play the British Open, but it doesn't look like a British Open is supposed to?
Right. I mean, well, we used to wake up in the morning and watch the coverage, and you see guys wearing sweaters and gloves and and beanie hats and trying to stay warm because they're up in Scotland somewhere and it's windy and cold. But it's just not the way. It was super hot when we were there last week, and it's continued. And what I did not know, that maybe some of your listeners didn't know either, they don't have a lot of air conditioning in Europe, and it was uncomfortable to say the least. But these guys they're used to the heat. What they're not used to is playing the ball on the ground, and the European players will have a bit of an advantage doing that. But we're not seeing it out of Rory McIlroy. I'm watching him really struggle right now, and some of the big surprise, like Jackson Suber, he's the leader, and he's never won on tour. So I would have said prior to the start of this event that Royal Birkdale usually produces like a purebred type champion, Nick Faldo or Jordan Spieth or Ben Hogan or those types of all the guys who've won on this golf course. And sometimes at the Open, we get some surprise winners like Ben Curtis or Todd Hamilton or guys you never heard of. And I would not expect that to happen at this golf course. But we've got Jackson Suber, who no one's really know at the top of the leaderboard to start. Now, we have a long way to go, but the golf course is playing really difficult, and I think these guys are a little unprepared for the way the ball is bouncing around and rolling out. So, and I just watching Rory McIlroy is struggling mightily right now. So, and that's a guy who grew up playing this type of golf.
Yeah, if we're on the same point in the broadcast that you are, he just bunkered something.
Yeah, that was a terrible shot. But again, when it's burned out like that, he's trying to hit a big high American style flop shot. And if you don't get that dead perfect, it can go awry pretty quickly, and that's what happened there. And the reason it's so difficult is you're literally trying to slide your club head underneath that ball, and that's easy to do when you've got a little cushion under there. But when it's baked out, burned out, rock hard, there is very little margin for error, and you hit it a little bit behind it, you bounce right into it and hit that shot.
So Jackson Suber, as you mentioned, he's atop the leaderboard right now. He's 5 under. Got a couple of guys at 4 under behind him, a log jam at 3 under. You think these numbers are going to kind of hold through 4 rounds, or will we see some big scores?
Well, I think those scores are going to go up just because it's going to get tougher. I did see they are forecasting some sort of weather on Saturday. So again, that's what I usually say about this tournament. Half of the battle is just pure luck, and the luck is getting a good draw because you either play late early or early late the first 2 days. And with the way the weather is there in the British Isles, it's just pure luck. If you get a bad draw and you happen to play through the worst of the weather, well, tough, too bad. But if you get a good draw and you miss the bad weather, then it turns out to be a huge advantage. But I'm not seeing that yet. But maybe Saturday when the predicted storms move in, then that might send scores going up. But this course is very gettable. It's a par 70. There's only 2 par 5s, but they're easily reachable if this same wind stays up. But I'll tell you, you get it offline just a little bit and get a little bit of bad luck, and you can have a shot that you don't even have a shot. And we're seeing that right now on the same coverage. Rory McIlroy is playing a bunker shot from his knees.
Yeah, he's trying to decide if he's going to take it from his knees. These bunkers, it's like a little cliff and then down into the sand. So he's trying to see if he can go. I think he's going to go not quite down on one knee is what it looks like as he tries to approach the flag here. And you know, I guess
he's glad he's only 5'7" right now.
Okay, he is going down on one knee. He's got and how would you play this here? I mean, can he not do anything can he not go southpaw? Shoot this one left-handed.
This would be a lot harder for me. And plus I'm also 55 years old, so not nearly as flexible as he is. And no, lefty is not an option there because you got to flip the club over and it wouldn't go through the sand. So this is a harder shot than it looks. It actually looks harder than it is. He should be able to get this close. He's done this before. Yeah, see, that was
not a bad shot. Okay, pretty good shot there for Rory.
That's the beauty of link flan golf. It's very these pot bunkers. They're not meant to be. They're a penalty. Not like the courses over here in the States that if you get a good lie in a bunker for a good player, it's really not a hard shot. But these they roll in from all different angles, and sometimes you can't get it out. Sometimes you have to go backwards. Sometimes you have to do what Rory just did. So. And the American players really aren't used to this kind of stuff. And I know I wasn't. It was a rude awakening when I played last week. But it's a really different type of golf, and it's played lower to the ground, and it's played mostly on the ground. And American players aren't used to that.
Koepka is even now through 17, it looks like. You've got Bryson DeChambeau, who's near the top. I think he's in that log jam at 3 under right now. Aside from Jackson Suber, is there an American who you think can kind of battle his way on this course?
Well, I mean, Scotty Scheffler is the number 1 player in the world. And I know he missed the cut last week for the first time in like 4 years, but that's not indicative of how he's been playing. He's had a wonderful year. He just hasn't won. I mean, he's won 3 times, but he should have won more, but he's played so well. And his stats are by far and above his strokes gained, which is a golf stat. He's in the top 15 of every strokes gained, putting strokes gained, driving strokes gained, iron shot. I mean, he's just that good. He struggled a little bit this morning when I was watching him, and he shot 2 under par. He's right where he needs to be. I just think he has to be the guy to beat. And Cameron Young, who won the Players Championship, had a nice round today. He's 3 under with 1 hole to play. Look for him to have a great week too. He hits the ball really far, and I'm telling you, the ball is really going far. And if a guy like Bryson DeChambeau, who also hits it far, if he can keep it straight in between all these pot bunkers and all these heavy fescue rough, he's someone to look out for. Now he's going to be super aggressive, and he got away with it today. Shot 3 under par, but if he starts hitting it in some bad spots and gets a couple bad breaks, you can make double and triple bogey here pretty fast.
I mean, it's old news now, but you did mention Scotty Scheffler missed the cut for the first time in a long time. Why? I didn't get to see any of it. What was going on with this game last week?
Well, I was too busy missing my own cut in Great Britain. I didn't see any of it, but I just think he had golf is hard, and no matter how good you are, you get it going the wrong way and have a couple of bad holes, get over par, start pressing, and things just don't go your way. I think it was actually probably a benefit to him. Give him some rest, get over to this golf course a little bit early, and get some practice rounds in, and just kind of forget about it, because the Scottish Open is a great event. It's an elevated event. It's co-sanctioned by the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour, and so it's a great event. But he's over here to defend his major championship and win another claret jug. So I don't think it's even indicative of any of how he's been playing this season.
The British Open will stay on top of it at the Royal Birkdale. Have you ever played this course, by the way?
I have not. That was my first trip over, and I was unsuccessful. I made it 8 on a par 4, which kind of hurt my chances of making the cut. So, no, I have not. I want next year the same tournament is in Scotland, so I'm going to go a little early and play some of the Scottish golf courses that are in the British Open Rota. But Birkdale is definitely on the list, and the players love it. It's a very fair test. It's not nearly as hard as some of the Scottish courses like Carnoustie and others, but it can be had. But like I said, you just have to be very strategic about the way you play. And that's why someone like Bryson, he's just going to bomb it and just see what happens. And if he can get away with it for 4 days, then he might win the whole thing. But I'll tell you, you can get 1 or 2 bad bounces and things go really sideways really quickly. Same thing, weather too. If a storm rolls in and you get it blowing 40 miles an hour, they don't stop there. The reason we have delays here in the U.S. is because of lightning, and it's dangerous. They rarely have the lightning storms there, so it doesn't matter if it's raining sideways, blowing 50 miles an hour. You're playing, and it's extremely difficult to play through that stuff.
What is the bucket list of courses currently for John Wright? What's your top 3 that you need to play as soon as possible?
Well, I've been lucky enough. I've played all of the top 30 in the United States except for Pine Valley, which is just outside of Philadelphia. And I've been invited. I haven't been able to get there yet. So that is number 1 on my list. I'd love to play all the British Open courses. I want to play. Obviously, St. Andrews is number 1, the home of golf. They're having the Open there next year. It's iconic, and it's where golf all started. So that's number 1 for sure. And that one and all of the British Open Rota courses, they have Carnoustie and Turnberry and Troon and Royal Lytham and St. Anne's. All those are bucket lists. I just haven't been able to get over there yet. And, it's hard to take 2 weeks off of work and spend $15,000 playing golf. So
why? Why? That sounds easy.
And the scheduling is very difficult. Those courses are hugely popular. You got to book them years in advance. It's not a last-minute type of thing. So those are the ones I'd love to play. And then there's one in Australia called Royal Melbourne. It's usually in the top 2 or 3 in the world, and they had the President's Cup there a couple of years ago. It's a fantastic golf course. I'd love to play there.
Well, I hope you get to all of them soon.
I've been very lucky. I've played Augusta National and all the great ones here in the U.S., so I have no complaints. If I don't play any more of the greatest golf courses, I'm very happy with the ones I've been able to play.
John, appreciate your time and your perspective, sir. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Glad to be here. So let's wake up. So the coverage starts tonight again at 11:30 p.m. Just go all through the night. You can watch it all the way through.
I am not that dedicated to golf. I'll tell you that. That's what we have you for, John.
Yeah, exactly. You tell me about the fights, and I'll watch the golf.
That sounds good. That's John Wright, brought to you by our friends over at Uinta Golf, the British Open right now. Jackson Suber 5 under atop the leaderboard, at least through his first round of play. Craig Bowler-Jack's going to join us next. We're guest heavy today, and I love it. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show. Welcome in Utah broadcasting legend, voice of the Utah Jazz, Craig Bolerjack, who gives us a few minutes on a Thursday, fresh off of Jazz Summer League action and with plenty to talk about in this NBA offseason. Bowler, how are you, sir?
OC, I'm good. How you been?
Really good. It's been fun to watch this Utah Jazz team in Summer League action, at least the young bucks from this Utah Jazz squad, even without Ace Bailey with the injury situation. We had all these high hopes, right? Hey, you're going to get one of the top players in this draft, and the top players in this draft look like they're all going to be really good. It ends up being Darren Peterson, and most Jazz fans were happy just with the idea of it. Now that we've had an opportunity to see some of the reality, a very brief glimpse, early glimpse into the reality of what Darren Peterson can be against other NBA talent, I think people are even more excited. Bowler, tell us what you saw up close and personal from DP in these first forays in a Jazz uniform.
Well, in Salt Lake, OC, it was a splash. His first moment, he stepped on the floor, 28 in game one on that Saturday prior to the 4th of July, then answered back with 25 on the Monday night. I go, wow. You know, the fan base was, the attendance was outrageous. I got to be honest, for a holiday weekend, mind you. But they came to see Darren Peterson, first number two pick since way back with Darrell Griffith in 1980. You know, I'm amazed at his skill set. Still has to maybe be more confident in his shot selection. You know, watching him last night, 4 of 16. He is a heavy, he'll take the load of shots. It'll be interesting to see how he matches up with Key in the backcourt, then the distribution of shots with Triple J, obviously, and Larry Market and whoever they decide to put at the other spot up front. But yeah, it's exciting. I mean, he's athletic. OC, he can do a lot of things. And the one thing I really do like is that he still is very involved with his teammates and dishing out dimes. It looks like he's got some defensive ability as well. He is an athlete. I mean, plain and simple. And so he can do a lot of things as he makes this adjustment, into the NBA.
So you don't want to overreact to anything you're seeing yet, but the way that he appears to have kind of like every tool, he's the baseball 5-tool player. He's the guy who can handle the ball. He can play a little bit of defense if he needs to explode to the hoop. I feel like that's something you might have to actually dial back rather than encourage. He's got a shot that will continue to develop, and you don't really get a good sense yet. But if there is a limitation or if there is something that this Jazz coaching staff is going to start working on with him or is going to try to get him maybe to improve quickly, is there something you can identify as, for lack of a better term, the weakness, the blind spot?
Yeah, interesting. The hype is hype, and you make a great point. Look, this is just Summer League with a bunch of players that are hopeful that they can find a roster spot. That's not the case, however, for Peterson, but there's pressure there to showcase his skill set, which obviously lifted him to a number 2 pick with the Jazz. We saw what AJ can do. Peterson was shut down for a couple of games, comes back last night, maybe a little rusty. I think it's just not forcing shots. And then obviously I think it's for the entire team is, again, playing team, concept defense, help to helper. I know that's been overstated, but that's the bottom line. OC, what's been, the equation of success? The last 3 champions, Boston, last year, Oklahoma City, then last year, New York. It's just a blend, right, of guys who go out, can be two-way players offensively. Yes, that's almost sounds like the easy part, but can you play both sides of the ball? Can you be a defender as well? And I think that's what the Jazz are really going to focus on in camp come September, and then they move forward from there. I'll never forget, it's been 3 years now, maybe going on 4. It's hard to believe Will's heading into his 5th season as the head coach of the Jazz, but he made it very clear in the early stages of his career, in his debut as a head coach, was, hey, look, if it's hard enough to make a roster spot in the league, it's even harder to keep it. And one thing for the Jazz, you're going to have to play defense to keep that spot. And I think that still echoes with what the league is doing. The big 3 kind of has kind of just worn itself out. I think you're seeing more depth that teams want, that if an injury occurs, you can then fill the slot. But who can help when, where, and not be impacted in the sense of the awe moment? Go out and play because you've been there. And I think the last 2 years for the Jazz, the reps of all these players that get on the floor has got to help. Collier, Sensabaugh, Filipowski, and the list goes on, so that there's time and space when their numbers called, that they feel like they've been there. And I think that's really important for this Jazz team because it's a wicked West, as you know, very competitive. And I think depth now is kind of the key for most teams around the NBA.
I almost feel silly now because Darren, the way he's talked and the way that we've seen him play, but there was plenty of narrative, plenty of conversation, and I asked questions. I asked questions to you about, like, is this a guy who wants to be in Utah? He didn't come work out here, and we did the same thing with Ace Bailey and the rumors surrounding him. And like now, back-to-back years, both of those individuals show up, they sit down, they meet the press, they win the press conference if there is such a thing. They answer things the right way. They handle it, whether they feel genuinely open to this or whether they've just been, media savvy enough, having been high-level prospects for so long, that, it feels like a big nothing burger, all of this fretting and worrying and wondering if Utah's the right place for some of these guys. And I know this has to play out, and we've got plenty of time left to make a final decision on that. But at least for now, Darren Peterson is making it look like there never should have been any concern over any of this. Is that a sense that you get? Is it time to put those things to bed?
Well, I think, again, you have to let time pass and see how, he blends with the vets, right? And what his workload will be and responsibility. But, OC, I tell you, it was like last year you mentioned, it was Ace Bailey who, again, you have to be careful here because social media is dangerous. And what things are said sometimes don't come out of the mouth of the player. It's all jockeying for positions and through agents and representatives, right, trying to build on their client, and they're trying to make the best deal for you. Well, sometimes you wish that you could step in, but what we're dealing with now is 18, 19, and 20-year-olds who sit back and just kind of let someone else do their work because they're paying a very high-level wage to represent them. I think Ace has turned out to be incredible. He's been engaging. I tell you, the night of the draft, we were at Southtown, the shops of Southtown, and there was, 5,000 or more people there. Ace came up on stage with me to do a one-on-one, and I've never seen this young man so engaged. And that's a turnaround from last year. I think, again, the spotlight is difficult to handle. You only play 30 games in college, and all of a sudden the stage turns brighter. 24 for Peterson at KU. I haven't had a chance to really talk to Darren that much, but I'm looking forward to it. But Ace and I spoke for 5 to 6 minutes. The crowd was buzzing, humming. He was playing to the crowd. And I think he realizes, how fans, most franchises have terrific fan bases or they wouldn't be in the city. The Jazz are special because they've hung with this franchise through highs and lows and thick and thin. But for them to embrace Ace and now Darren Peterson, young guys who they hope will bring them to the promised land one day again, like John and Carl came up short. But can you get back with an opportunity? That's what the thought process is right now, and the goal in mind. But I think younger players need that time to adjust and understand, OC, what it's all about. Let's be honest. I didn't have social media back in the day. I didn't have a cell phone. I wasn't overrun with, people all of a sudden immediately become, experts in basketball, the NBA. And I think it takes time to adjust to that. And I think Ace has done a marvelous job in a short period of time. And I hope Darren Peterson does too, because the expectations are high. And that's why you're making $10+ million a year to fill that spot. And the expectations will continue to put pressure on him. But I hope, what he is, what the flashes he has shown us, wow. I mean, that feels good. And just to think about putting him around all-stars like Jaren Jackson Jr., Larry Markkinen, you got Keontae George, who has upped his game to a higher level. It's fun. And the depth the Jazz are starting to present us even makes it more interesting to get camp underway.
Greg Bowler-Jack, our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show, talking a little Utah Jazz hoop. You just went through the cast of characters that Darren Peterson's going to be placed alongside, and honestly, we thought that Walker Kessler's name would also be on that list.
Yeah.
When we got the final product, and obviously he's going to be in Lakers purple and gold this year instead, and the Jazz get back a Hall. And I just wanted, your thoughts on that and how this team's going to adjust to. It's not the exact look that a lot of people thought it would be, but man, once again, the Angels seem like they got the better end of a really good deal.
Oh, it's amazing. You continue to just put pieces for the future to continue to build and never let yourself get into a spot like the Lakers will be now, with very few picks over the next 5 to 7 years. But you know what, though? The Lakers have the ability to spend the money and also to attract free agents to rebuild quickly. And the Jazz don't have that. So they try to have picks in their pocket for draft night, for trades, whatever it may be. And so you have to give the Angels a lot of credit for that. Now, Walker, I like personally, and I think the Jazz fan base did too. Really good left-hand shot blocker. I thought he was a terrific rebounder. Other teams around the league thought the same thing. The Lakers have talked about him for, a year plus. The shoulder injury comes, restricted free agency comes, OC, and I tell you, it can be a dangerous situation because, you know what, let's be honest, feelings come and feelings go. They can get hurt, they can go sideways or misrepresented in some of the language. And again, you have an agent representing you on trying to get this deal done. But look, I just give Walker the credit for talking to the Jazz fan base. He did it right. Hayward would probably like to have a do-over. I think you would agree on his departure. But the Jazz didn't get anything in return on that particular deal. Gordon went off to Boston. The Jazz thought he was going to resign. And you know what? Austin and Danny and Justin, front office, all say, look, we're going to get something back in return because he's a valuable commodity, and the Lakers, agreed. So, yeah, I like him. I think he's going to do well in L.A., but let's see what happens with the post-LeBron era, right? That's the only factor of what they're going to do in Los Angeles. But all the focus is on the Jazz. And how does Jaren Jackson Jr. and Markkinen work up front? And what does Key do with Darren Peterson? Wow. I mean, there's a storyline every time you turn around, and I can't wait.
Big picture stuff here around the NBA offseason. Victor Wembanyama reached an extension with the Spurs. He got the 5-year max contract extension rather than the super max, which leaves about $50 million on the table for the Spurs to surround him with talent, have more salary cap flexibility, et cetera. And, we're coming off a year when the Knicks won a championship where their number one star, Jalen Brunson, left in his contract over $100 million on the table. Here's another big superstar doing the same thing, giving the team a discount and saying, hey, use this money to make me or to give me a better team. Is this a trend that's going to stick in the NBA?
It may be, OC. Jalen Brunson proved it first, right? Build around me. You can't do it by yourself. And I think the concept of Big Three, as we were talking earlier, maybe has crumbled, where you get more players that can give you support and more depth. And if an injury does occur, it's not going to cripple you. And I think, for Victor, this is kind of scary for the West because all it does is make them stronger for the next 10 years. And the Jazz are going to try to keep up with that with picks, and will it translate into another contract? And, Keontae, his extension that's forthcoming. So it'll be interesting to keep track of this, OC. I think it's fascinating, honestly, because what does every fan talk about? On your show, and people who text or get a chance to call in and talk nationally as well, is what's enough? How much is enough? And I think maybe we're at that point in time where even a player with a shoe deal, it's like, man, I've got everything. I'm 3 years old. and let's go win. Because honestly, I think that through all of it, yeah, you can be an NBA All-Star 10 times. You can be a MVP, all defensive first team. But the bottom line is your legacy will always be cemented in what?
Winning.
Championships.
Yeah.
Championships, right? And there's nothing better to be on a winning team. Even if you don't by chance get into the Western Conference or Eastern Conference finals, boy, there's been guys who sign, but they struggle and watch a season go by with 20 wins. I'd rather, this is just me, and people say you're probably crazy, but I'd rather give up a few million. I can't believe I'm saying this because I'll never be in this position, but think about it, OC. Wouldn't you rather win and have teammates around you and that you guys are building something for the future and the potential of having the opportunity to get into a Western Conference final that would elevate you into an NBA championship run? I mean, I find it bizarre that you would just give up the winning part just for the cash. But look, I'll never be there. I'm more competitive. I think you are as well. I'd rather have team around me to say, let's go get this done and do it as one. Maybe that's too old school, but I kind of like the feeling that's going on. Brunson may have started something, and Wembanyama, maybe he is going to continue the trend. He already has. Let's see who follows.
Well, I think you're right, and I think that this is something that'll probably be reserved for like top billing star level players. Because those guys are going to have their several $100 million, like you said, with the shoe deal, with the contract anyway. You can afford to take 5% less. That's what this translates to for Victor Wembanyama. That that's an insane thing to say, but that $50 million discount over the life of his contract is going to be like, that's effectively 5%. That's insane because you're giving this guy, by the time it's all said and done, just his basketball salary is going to be more than $1 billion in earnings. So absolutely, you can say what matters to me more.
Did you just say the magic billion?
Yeah, I mean, and it's an eventuality for guys like Cooper Flagg, for guys like AJ DeBonsa, for guys like Darren Peterson, for guys like Victor Wembanyama. If they play as long as we think they're going to play, and this salary cap in the NBA keeps going up at the rate that it's been going, these guys with a decade and a half, 2 decades of basketball, just from their NBA salaries, are going to be in the billionaires club. And that is something that even like John and Carl and Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, and those guys, they never had anything like that. So you can make decisions based on it. Yeah.
Never tasted that type of money. And, they probably think to themselves, boy, hell of a career, but I'm about 30 years too early, in the whole scheme of things. But, hey, for time and place, they were still well paid for what the NBA was. NBA was coming out of having the finals played on tape delay. Remember after the Carson show or whatever, the Jay Leno show on CBS? I mean, it's come so far. And it is such a worldwide product now, and with multiple distribution channels of network and streaming and cable, my gosh, the influx of cash is crazy. And the fan bases continue to come. And, they're buying jerseys and sodas and beers and hot dogs and the whole 9 yards. I mean, I think live sports will always be that way. OC, I keep thinking to myself, how long can it continue to be such a success? But there's something about the unknown nightly. Drives me, I know it drives you on a daily basis, is what's next? What can this game actually become? Look at yesterday. I mean, Messi, 2 late assists, and all of a sudden Argentina's in, and heartbreak, right, for England. So that's the beauty of sport. Live sports, you never know the outcome. And I'll be honest, I'm addicted. That's why I love what I do, because every night you sit down and put the headset on, you don't know the outcome. And I think now with the Jazz, that even plays into it more so, because with talent, growing young talent, it makes it even more intriguing to see what kind of upset they can pull in the NBA and how far they could go. I mean, this Jazz young team could be a real storyline in the NBA this year. I'm just glad to be a part of it.
Amen to all that, Bowler. We got our fingers crossed for a great Jazz season coming up. Thanks for your time. Always appreciate you, sir.
All right. OC, take care. Have a good one.
That's Craig Bowler-Jack, the voice of the Utah Jazz on television, broadcasting legend here in our home state. All right, final segment coming. And look, we got a schedule release today. We haven't had an opportunity to get to it yet, but the Utah Mammoth schedule is out. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Utah Mammoth schedule is out. 84 games this year and in the NHL season instead of 82. It'll be the Chicago Blackhawks at Utah Mammoth for the home opener on October 1st. That is a Thursday night. Circle it on your calendar. Get yourself out there. Tusks up, baby. That's less than 3 months away, people. They go right on the road after that. East Coast swing, Columbus, New York, New Jersey, Boston, Buffalo. And then it's back home against the Maple Leafs. It's going to be a fun season at the Delta Center with the Utah Mammoth. Hopefully the same true with the Utah Jazz. Ryan Smith released some photos of the hanging gondola seating being installed at the Delta Center. Kind of cool the way that they have totally refurbished, redeveloped, and changed the inside of that arena in the last 2 off seasons. I mean, it's a modern arena without having to rip the old one down and relocate. Very, very happy that they didn't end up taking it down to the south end of the valley. Although I'm from Sandy, that's God's country. I love the burbs just as much as anyone else does, but your teams should be in the downtown of your metro.
And more than that, OC, your team should be where they historically are known for being, right? And like Sarah Todd has talked about this, her being now a former Oakland A's fan. She's now very much a vehement Seattle Mariners fan.
Yeah, I don't know if we should get on board with that, but your point is correct.
Yeah, but she's talked about how the A's leaving for Vegas is and that horrible owner they have has ruined her has ruined the A's for her. This moving, farther down in the valley would not probably have been that dramatic for Jazz fans here, but it just would not have felt right. And I was upset about it at the idea of it. I'm glad they thought better of it and that the legislature has made, incentivized the Smith Entertainment Group to keep them here and do a renovation instead. The videos and the pictures he sent, I can't wait for what it looks like when it's all done, OC. I think it's going to be a very unique, obviously much more modern NBA and NHL arena. I can't wait for it to happen.
The Salt Lake Bees moved out, and that's a AAA team, right? So the Salt Lake Bees moved out of downtown into this beautiful new park. And to me, that, as someone who lives near downtown, to me that was a loss. That's one that you can kind of survive. It's a bummer, but it's not the end of the world. The Jazz and the Mammoth moving out of downtown would have been hard for people to swallow. It would have been hard for the Weber and Davis County kind of folks, the individuals who make the trip all the way down from Logan and stuff like that. If nothing else, for the population center, Salt Lake is just more central for everybody up and down the Wasatch Front.
It absolutely is. It's right there in the middle between Ogden and Provo, right? But that being said, you said it would have been really rough for the Davis County, Weber County folks. If they had moved closer to the point of the mountain, obviously that would have been much better for the Utah County folks. But this is right in the middle. It is the capital city. It is still the highest populated city in the state. It's the city everyone knows. If you're not from Utah, that's where they should be. So I'm glad they continue to be there.
When you have an opportunity to talk to athletes from other teams, like visiting NBA teams, visiting NHL teams, you don't ask them about like the inconvenience or the convenience of travel for obvious reasons, because there's bigger fish to fry. You're more interested in, tactical things and what happened in the game and reaction stuff. But I really would like an opportunity at some point to have a sit down with someone or have someone on the show where we have a little bit of time and we can get into the weeds. Like, these guys are on the road all the time. I do also think it's a big boon for every franchise that the arena, which means the hotels that the other team stays at, they're close to the airport. Nobody wants to, not that you're trying to be a convenient setup for visiting teams, but nobody wants to fly somewhere and then sit on a bus for an hour. Nobody wants to get off a plane and onto a shuttle for half of the plane ride. And we are so ridiculously lucky to have the Salt Lake International Airport right next to downtown, but not intrusive upon downtown, not a traffic concern for downtown. Like San Diego has a downtown airport, but it's a nightmare if you're trying to get to the airport when everyone else is trying to get downtown because that traffic crosses over. Somehow we have the best setup where airport traffic and downtown traffic don't like cross over a lot.
Yeah, and we hear our media friends from out of town always, sometimes unsolicited, OC, talk about, hey, congrats on your airport. So yeah, it's definitely you gotta think that is something that visiting teams and players enjoy as well.
Apropos of nothing, NFL Live is on the television right now, and I've never seen Ben Solak's face, the ESPN NFL analyst. He is a child. He's 29 years old, and he looks like he's like 13. They've gone young. ESPN's reloading their crop of new people they want to keep around for a couple of decades. Look how young that guy is.
Is he Timothy Chalamet's little brother? Like another guy who looks way younger than he actually
This man
is.
looks like he's 2 years away from puberty.
Yeah. Shout out to him for getting that kind of gig.
It's a big
at
gig.
12 years old.
Well ahead of the game. All right, we've been killing time for Spence Checketts because he's on his way up to Brighton, and there was a little bit of traffic. The Women's Disc Golf Championship is today from 2 to 6. PDGA Pro Major featuring the FPO division. Tune into the drive today or head up there, even better, and check it out at Brighton Resort. Also, big thanks to Advanced Window Products. The final segment of the show is always brought to you by our friends at 801-850-9100. Give them a call. Set up an appointment today. It's $2,500 off, 10 windows or more. AdvancedWindows.com. As always, tell them OC sent you. Bill Riley will be hosting the Sean O'Connell Show tomorrow. I know all of you love that when it happens. Thanks for listening today. Tune in for the PFL from Austin, Texas this weekend, and we'll be back with you Monday on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM.